subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
He split 3 more swords in succession, and then used Shuinpa to transport his burly body to the top of Guan Yue's head at a very fast speed, and the Ryatsu on his body contracted and swelled in an instant. Oh. The 2-meter-long big sword instantly turned into a giant hammer with a ferocious shape, almost the size of 10 ghost rock cities combined. The airflow driven by the wave alone gives the illusion that the mountain is tipped over. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 60. Spectators on the roof of the Bridal Town block. 2 figures quickly resign one after the other. Why do I have to accompany you to the 11th Division site early in the morning? I don't care about you, the captain. That masked monster asks me to do miscellaneous things. Sleep is very important for girls. I'm still growing ball. A petite girl with a playful tip Madara on her face babbles. Well, running in the morning is also good for your health. As for why you came to the 11th team, needless to say, of course, it was to watch the show. You have worked hard for a few days, so you should just relax and treat you. It can't be said that it's unhelpful to grow up, right? Urahara Kasuke's sleeves are fluttering, and his posture is very calm. As for how to get along with his vice-captain, this year can be considered quite an experience. But when it came to the last sentence, both the expression and the tone became much more serious. But Hiyori didn't appreciate it at all, pinched his nose with an unhappy face and said, "Ha, are you serious? I can smell a disgusting stench of sweat just by the place where the wild boar-like guy is staying. Come on, how can you relax in such a place? Instead of this, you might as well give me a vacation and let me catch up with Captain Hikun." Ahaha, well, even if I give you a vacation, it's actually not convenient for you to see her. Suddenly, Urahara Kasuke felt a terrible Ryatsu. This Ryatsu? Who is this? It's too strong. Hiyori's pupils trembled. Urahara Kasuke didn't give an explanation right away, but whispered, "It looks like it's starting," and immediately urged Hiyori to speed up. The latter gritted his teeth in anger. But with Urahara Kasuke, there is no way. After a while, the 2 of them swaggered into the 11th team's quarters. Urahara Kasuke glanced around ruthlessly, seeing no one around, and hurriedly jumped onto the roof. Using both hands and feet, crawling up the eaves. Seeing his unbearable posture, Hiyori slapped his hands to cover his face. He couldn't bear to look directly at him. What a joke! This guy is actually his captain? Hiyori, hurry up! Hiyori looked at him beckoning from above, and Ultimate sighed speechlessly. He temporarily decided to give up thinking and follow this guy, first to see what he wanted to do. At this moment, a familiar voice suddenly sounded in Urahara Kasuke's ear on the roof. "Oh, I thought who it was. Isn't this Kasuke?" Urahara Kasuke looked back in surprise and found a woman wearing the same weak complexion as Captain Hiyori, sitting on the roof ridge with a relaxed look. Who else could it be, if not Yoruichi? Not only her, but also the Broken Bee. Although she has left the King Jun team, she is used to standing quietly and serving as Yoruichi's guard. "Miss Yoruichi? And Miss Broken Bee? You are here too." Although the tradition of the 11th team does not require 4 captains to be present like the normal captain examination, Guan Yue is also my subordinate. Well, don't look at me with this "who are you" eyes. Honestly, to be honest, I just came to see the fun. I'm here to serve as a temporary escort. Broken Bee's eyes flickered. As expected of Miss Broken Bee, she really does her duty. Urahara Kasuke complimented, but his eyes turned to Yoruichi's side, just in line with Yoruichi's line of sight. The 2 nodded understandingly, and everything was said. Suddenly, another powerful Ryatsu roared down. Wow! Hiyori was caught off guard. Her body and mind were impacted. Her feet staggered, and she couldn't step on it firmly. And she was about to fall as soon as she climbed up, but fortunately Urahara Kasuke quickly grabbed her with his eyes and hands. Otherwise, if you fall from such a high place, you will inevitably have to go to the Comprehensive Treatment Center of the 4th Division. What's the situation? Suddenly, such a terrifying Ryatsu appeared, and I was so close that I felt like I was struck by lightning. Did you bring me here just to see me shivering with fear? Hiyori patted his chest with lingering fears, and then swayed wildly as he pulled Urahara Kisuke's collar in a fit of anger. Calm down, Hiyori. Let's go back and talk about the apology. Let's go up first. What? Hiyori looked puzzled, watching Urahara Kisuke stepping on the tiles and planning to climb the highest ridge, and also noticed the existence of Yoruchi and Broken Bee. Only then did he realize that there were outsiders present, and he couldn't help feeling for his gaffe just now. A little ashamed, holding Urahara Kisuke's Hiyori like an introverted beast, he daringly climbed up the roof. Thanks to the extremely intense Reiatsu collision, these few steps made her sweaty and breathless. I was about to take a breath to see what was going on. A huge, dark shadow flashed before his eyes. Its essence is a giant hammer the size of a house. Hiyori narrowed his eyes. I saw a ghost Rock City, who was not welcomed by me on weekdays, waving a giant hammer and fell from the sky. Although the size is amazing, the power displayed is far beyond the specifications of the size. It is like pulling up a mountain and smashing it down. Just the air that is tilted will make a deafening explosion. The air squeezed and dense cracks appeared. Fortunately, it will not spread to the surrounding area, only the area targeted by the hammer face. But it's still like this before it hits the ground. If it really hits it, it's still good? Is that boar actually so strong? Such thoughts flashed through my mind. Before he could think about it, Hiyori suddenly noticed that there was a very slender figure directly below him compared to Ghost Rock City. Oops, it's going to die. Yeah, it's going to die. Urahara Kisuke on the side spoke solemnly. The situation in Ghost Rock City is not very good. What? Is it the opposite? But soon Hiyori understood why Urahara Kisuke came to this conclusion. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 61. Qualified Kenpachi, I saw Guan Yue squeeze a sword mark with one hand. Centering on the place where he stands, a touch of silver and blue is rendered. It wasn't the land that was dyed, but the Reiatsu he unleashed. The moment Reiatsu, who was originally transparent as air, was given color, it seemed to become a materialized light. Time and space carry, light flows. Build an 8 trigrams array with a radius of more than 10 meters at the foot of Guan Yue. In an instant, everyone felt an indescribable sense of tightness and depression in their hearts. It was as if the entire open-air plaza, including myself, was compressed into this bizarre array of light, and then stepped on by Guan Yue. Palace moved transportation. Guan Yue pointed his sword to the sky, aimed at the giant hammer that fell above his head, as if embedded in an invisible anchor point on the surface of the hammer, and then stroked down. A miraculous phenomenon happened. Ghost Rock City swung halfway and suddenly lightened his hand. Before he could react, the sky seemed to darken. A familiar weight suddenly fell on his shoulders, making it difficult for his body to move. Boom! Ghost Rock City was smashed into the ground from the sky without knowing what happened. And even a circle of amazing air ripples appeared in the air, showing the ferocity of the force. The giant hammer also fell to the ground, splashing a lot of dust and gravel. Space transfer, Urahara Kisuke said somewhat uncertainly. Unlike Ghost Rock City, bystanders can see it clearly. Guan Yue seems to use some unknown kid technique to transfer the giant hammer that Ghost Rock City swung halfway to the top of Ghost Rock City himself. Since the power exerted on the giant hammer did not disappear, the Ghost Rock City that was blocking the front was knocked away under the action of inertia. Although the process doesn't seem so incomprehensible, Guan Yue does it with the power of Kid. Siri-IDI expressly prohibits the unauthorized use of time-space type spells. Therefore, this type of surgery is also known as the forbidden technique. The superb skills of being able to perform the forbidden technique are certainly amazing, but what is even more amazing is Guan Yue actually dares to use the forbidden technique in public. Is there really no problem in room 46? Don't worry, Guan Yue seems to have reached some secret agreement with the 46th room and obtained the permission of the Saber and the permanent liberation. As for the forbidden technique, I don't know, but he must have some idea. As Guan Yue's direct boss, Yoruchi has some inside information. That's it. It's really amazing, Mr. Guan Yu. He was still asking us about Kid not long ago, and now he can even use the forbidden technique at his fingertips. And it's completely different from the space transfer that I understand. Urahara Kasuk felt relieved when he heard the words and couldn't help feeling overwhelmed. 80% of it is his special ability. After all, he has no access to this knowledge. Yurichi envies bad. But then again, ordinary people can become a great person with only one of his special abilities, and he has at least 3 kinds. Is this guy really not the illegitimate son of the Spirit King? Urahara Kasuk and Bumblebee were silent. Apparently, they have a similar idea. Hiyori on the side had a stiff expression. The first time she heard about Guan Yu's deeds, her 3 views of course were greatly impacted. Also affected is Ghost Rock City. The reckless man shook his dizzy head and climbed out of the pit. The hearts of the team members around were trembling. This blow is not light. Even though Ghost Rock City's skin is thick and fleshy, and his body is extremely tough, after this blow, the Captain Yuri and the Death Tyrant outfit on his body burst open, revealing his hairy upper body. Countless small wounds were distributed on the back, and the blood was boiling hot and flowing, and it was shocking to see others. There are wounds elsewhere, especially on the forehead. Blood-stained red eyebrows, down the eye socket, seriously affecting the vision of the left eye. Call! Ghost Rock City's expression is still fierce, like a silent volcano, wiping off the blood that is unsightly. Raising his hand again, the giant hammer that fell not far away shrunk to a suitable size and automatically flew into his hand. The ability to smash what's hit is really useful, but it's useless if you can't hit it. Guan Yu looked directly into his eyes. His tone was calm, and he couldn't hear any sarcasm at all. On the contrary, his serious attitude even felt a strong vigor in Guyancheng, who was in a state of injury and anger. I'm still saying that. Use Bankai. You want me to use Bankai on a guy who doesn't even pull out a knife? There should be a limit to looking down on people. Ghost Rock City was silent for a while, panting heavily. My Zanpakutō ability is only suitable for Legion battles. Like this one-on-one duel, there is no point in liberating Zanpakutō. As for Bankai, I haven't learned it yet, so don't think I look down on you. Guan Yu told the truth and made no secret of it. Maybe I looked down on you yesterday, but when the battle starts, I only have respect for you. I don't care what you do, but since you're carrying the name of Kenpachi right now, you deserve my respect, because I will soon take over this title from you. Respecting you is equal to respecting my own achievements, and no one wants to see their spoils become tattered. On the contrary, there is certainly an insurmountable difference in strength between us, but I asked you, Bankai, not to make a quick decision, but to let you complete the handover ceremony with the attitude that Kenpachi should have. The Ryatsu that spread all over Guan Yu was shaking, and even the atmosphere was shaking. His voice sounded as shocking as rolling thunder. I don't want to be ridiculed about winning a half-assed Kenpachi. I don't know about others, but you should understand. Ghost Rock City's expression was distorted, and his body trembled slightly. Understand? How could he not understand? The 9th generation Kenpachi Wusuk is the weakest and most unbearable one among the previous Kenpachis. As the successor, although he has the strength worthy of the captain, he still thinks that he is not qualified to be a Kenpachi team player. But how can that be? 5 is dead. Stepping on the corpse of the weak is destined to be unpopular. After the initial satisfaction and sense of accomplishment, there is endless anger. No matter how hard he fights and sweeps the virtual group to prove his strength, his mood is still hard to let go. Now it was his turn to stand in the position of the 5 assistants. Ghost Rock City suddenly had some kind of enlightenment. 5 helpers, I can't prove that I am a qualified Kenpachi by defeating you. But if I lose and die, I must let the world know that this person in front of me once defeated a powerful Kenpachi whose name is called Ghost Rock City. Oh! With a roar, Chibai's Ryatsu turned into a beam of light and shot straight into the sky. At this moment, everyone in Siriidii could see the light that ripped through the sky. Team leader, Ichino's Maki's face paled. Raising your Ryatsu like this will hurt your body, not to mention that if you're not careful, your soul will collapse. But Ghost Rock City doesn't care about that. He knew that his Ryatsu finally surpassed the other, and he was extremely satisfied. Bankai, celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 62. Qimen, after the wind, black hair fluttered, and his robes rattled. Guan Yue is like a rock standing on the spot. No matter how big the momentum is, he still stands still. As soon as the splash stones approached, they silently turned into dust. However, when the spiritual child Uzumaki dispersed, there was a hint of surprise in Guan Yu's eyes. Boom! The heavy landing sound resounded throughout the square. The ground was shattered again. The behemoth in Ghost Rock City's hands was deeply embedded in the rubble. Taking a closer look, it has nothing to do with the giant hammer. It is completely a black giant shield. Tall, thick, and shaped like a door. The shield depicts the face of an evil spirit. Lifelike, angular. Behind the ferocious fangs is a bottomless bloody mouth, which seems to be connected to a special space. And you can see that air is inhaled and then turns into a black breath. Earth is big and one-eyed. Ghost Rock City raised a giant shield above his head, wrapped in fiery Ryatsu all over his body, like a powerful king. At this moment, his eyes were tightly closed. 2 tears of blood ran down his face. But it doesn't mean sadness. It's more like graffiti on the face of the evil spirit, making others feel a chill in their hearts. Shield why? Guan Yu whispered. Ghost Rock City seems to see through his thoughts, or he knows very well what other people are most likely to think about his Bankai. My Bankai, I haven't used it in front of anyone since the day I played Master, because it doesn't deserve to be the captain of the 11th Division. The Bankai of dignified Kenpachi is actually a shield. If someone said that, his subordinates would be very sad. They have already been injured by their predecessor Kenpachi once. 3 and 4. Team leader. More than 200 team members watching the game burst into tears. So you choose to close your eyes? Guan Yu asked a rather pointed question. Ghost Rock City's voice was low, and there was no joy or anger. It has nothing to do with this. This is one of Bankai's characteristics. It is only by giving up his eyes that he can completely live. As if echoing his words, the shield-faced demon's face glowed. My eyes, its eyes, can't escape from being stared at by it. While speaking, Ghost Rock City turned the giant shield towards Guan Yu, and the light from the evil ghost's eyes seemed to have an inexplicable attraction. Guan Yu found that although he was still able to move freely, he couldn't move his feet. It should be a spiritual suggestion to block the opponent's action through the eyes of the evil ghost. The ability is not difficult to analyze, but considering that it is necessary to combine tactics to play a practical role, then the next step should be. Guan Yu looked at each other. Really? Ghost Rock City roared and charged. The red and white Ryatsu that emerged from his body actually formed an even larger evil head, the kind that could directly bite off a modern skyscraper. Oh. Even the ran itself is not a pointless bravado, because the sound was also transformed into a substantial sound wave through the bloody mouth of the shield-faced evil spirit, shaking the earth and houses in a radius of 100 meters. The sight takes away the power of action, and the sound wave takes away the ability to think. After the double ban, just wait for the evil spirits to slaughter them and tear them to shreds. Although the shield is used as the main weapon, this tactic is more aggressive than normal hammers and swords. Sure enough, you're a Kenpachi anyway. Guan Yu smiled. The sound waves are completely blocked by the prismatic film presented on the body surface. The eyes are also shining brightly, filled with rich silver blue light, as if the brain itself has turned into a dazzling sun. Snapped. Bring your palms together in front of your chest. Makes a crisp clapping sound. Cut 10,000 squares. Draw wild and divide soil, and obtain small and large countries and 10,000 districts. And the seal of gods and spirits is hidden in them. The wind occupies the 4 dimensions, so it is round, and the wind occupies the 4 corners, so it is square. The sky has a circle, the earth has an axis, and there is a front and back. The wind is attached to the sky, and the cloud is attached to the earth. Because of the 8 trigrams, there are 9 palaces to set up camps. The wind is the command, and the ruler is also the dirt will be removed and the future will be there. This is Qimen after the wind. Jin character Earth Dragon Tour. Guan Yue didn't move, and the ground in the area covered by the 8 trigrams array suddenly became extremely soft. Jin represents mountain, that is, to simulate the technique of mountain changes. Ghost Rock City only felt that his feet were light and almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, after losing his eyes, his perception improved to a higher level. He jumped into the air in time, used Shunpa to create a foothold, and continued to charge from top to bottom. The momentum did not decrease. Increase. Li Zi Firefly Streamer. Guan Yu waved his sleeve robe, and a fiery red gust of wind was actually set off. No, that's not wind, but densely packed, hundreds of millions of Mars. Although there is no red cannon, the heat of the blue fire is as great as Kid, but the temperature of each spark is so high that it will burn through a hole if it keeps falling on anything. Due to changes in schedule, the update time is adjusted to the evening, celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 63. The new king ascends the throne. The 11th generation Kinpachi, Ghost Rock City did not dodge or dodge, and broke through Mars' interception abruptly. But the head of the evil spirit he incarnated was already riddled with holes. It was a non-entity constructed by Ryatsu. But Guan Yu's Firefly Streamer can even burn through Ryatsu. Not only that, the giant shield is the first to bear the brunt. It became pitted, and the evil ghost lost one eye, looking extremely miserable, and its fierceness was greatly reduced. Ghost Rock City is not overestimating its own defense, but underestimating the destructive power of Firefly Streamer. If it weren't for the face of the evil ghost on the giant shield, who could treat foreign attacks, spirits, and flesh and blood as food, and absorb the sparks before being burned through and destroyed, there would be no bones left by now. The surrounding Shinigami couldn't help but break into a cold sweat for him. Fortunately, it's still coming. Ghost Rock City crashed down like a meteorite. Even if the shield is broken to this point, the overall impact force has not been greatly affected, and the damage caused by falling to the ground is definitely more than 10 times that of a meteorite of the same quality. Being able to turn this open-air plaza into an open-air sinkhole, Shinigami, who was watching the battle nearby, would inevitably be implicated. You have to be smart, you idiots. Such thoughts flashed in Ghost Rock City's mind, and then he mustered all his strength and slammed forward with his shoulders against the shield. But the next second, he suddenly found that his speed became extremely slow. Although it wasn't completely still, it was like an old man walking compared to the way he was falling like a meteor. What happened? The team members watching the battle were all ready to grab the ground with their heads and lay down for refuge. But what happened in front of them made them horrified. Ghost Rock City basically swoops down from the sky at a speed of half a meter per second. Unnatural to the extreme. But equally unnatural things abound. Splashing stones, fluttering dust, even air movement, swaying clothes. Although it is still in motion, it is excruciatingly slow. Chaotic Gold Watchdog. Guan Yu lowered his eyes and read out the real name of this strange phenomenon. The method of controlling time in the Fenghou Qimen method, specifying the speed of change of one or several things in the array, so that the thing is out of touch with the speed of change in the world. It can be slowed down or accelerated, and the speed between different speeds things cannot affect each other. Different from 8 trigrams, 8 characters, 8 attributes change technique. Chaotic Gold Watch is the profound meaning of Qimen after the wind. How can manipulating a single attribute be compared to the manipulation method of manipulating attributes? The shortcoming of the previous smashing was that it was too cumbersome to hit people, but your Bankai made up for this very well, using the resistance ability of blocking the opponent to achieve the effect of locking in disguise, and then go all-out charge the shield and smash the enemy into pieces. But my blockade is above your blockade. Time control? Damn! The blue veins on Guancheng's forehead burst out, and the wounds on the body's surface began to bleed, and the speed could not be faster. Should have thought of it earlier. The forbidden technique of the same Kid department. Since the space transfer has been used, there is no reason to leave the time operation and not learn it. Move lousy. Ryatsu soared further. The essence of Kid is a special variation of Ryatsu, and there are only two ways to break it, either with a more advanced Kid or forcibly break it. At this time, Guan Yu's vision was already dyed red by the Ryatsu spewing out of Ghost Rock City. The intensity is close to the sum of the two captain-level Shinigami. Even so, it is still a long way from the minimum standard line for forcibly breaking the chaotic gold watch. Guan Yu didn't say anything about persuading him to surrender, just quietly watching Ghost Rock City. The rest of the action is completely absent. It seems that one use of the chaotic gold watch has exhausted all his stamina, and he can't even deal a fatal blow to Ghost Rock City. The team members couldn't help clenching their fists when they saw this scene. They wanted to cheer on the captain very much, but they couldn't interfere with the sacred duel. Excessive entanglement caused their faces to turn red and their bodies to tremble. Guan Yu, seeing the big shield approaching Guan Yu, the face of the broken bee on the eaves changed slightly. The slowing down of time may have made the matter in motion lose its impact, but the goblin on that shield wasn't poised to scare people. Attacks can be swallowed, so what is flesh and blood? This is probably the main reason why Ghost Rock City has not given up yet. Although it is extremely slim, he still has a chance of winning, as long as you can touch. It's over. Urahara Kasuke sighed lightly at this moment and closed his eyes. Couldn't bear to see what happened next. His hunch was immediately confirmed. Without warning, Ghost Rock Castle, who was frantically raising Ryatsu, suddenly raised the corners of his mouth, and Ryatsu on his body flickered. He didn't even have time to blurt out a last word, and his whole body exploded. Countless blood spilled all around. No flesh, no organs. Only blood, lots of blood, like a flower on the other side blooming on the earth. Team leader Ichino's Maki fell to her knees and let out a painful cry. Ghost Rock City is dead. Because Ryatsu released too much and exceeded the limit of his soul, he died. This is the so-called soul suicide. Guan Yu closed his eyes as if in silence. It's not that Ghost Rock City didn't know the consequences of doing so, but he still did it. Not only for the chance of winning, but even if he was going to lose, he had to die in the strongest possible way. Clang! The giant shield fell to the ground, and the light returned to its original sealed state. Guan Yu bent down and picked up the Zanpakutō, looked around the more than 200 players and declared, "From now on, I'm the new captain of the 11th Division, the 11th Generation Kenpachi. Whoever has objections can stand up, and we will speak with strength." Everyone looked at each other, silent. I don't know who will bow down first. Motivated others to do the same. Soon, a group of black figures all bowed their heads. The scene was magnificent. No, there are exceptions. It was the Vice Captain Maki Ichino's, who was immersed in grief. Guan Yu walked slowly to him. "My captain is only Ghost Rock City." Even though Ichino's Maki was kneeling on the ground, she had a stubborn and determined expression. "Then take it with you and let Ghost Rock City see if you can still stand up." Guan Yu threw the big sword in his hand into Maki Ichino's arms and walked away without looking back. Ichino's Maki stared blankly at Zanpakutō in his hand. After a while, he seemed to have made a major decision in his heart. He bowed to Guan Yu's back in the distance and then left in the opposite direction. The alternation of the captains of the 11th Division always ends with the demise of a life, but also ushers in a new beginning. Unlike the other squads, this is a kingdom belonging to a fighter fanatic. Sacrifice, blood, and death go hand in hand, so there is no room for the weak. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rush to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 64. Inauguration ceremony on the same day. News of the inauguration of the new captain of the 11th Division spread throughout Syrii. And the next morning, the captains of each division receive a summoning order. Ah, really? Holding a festival for 2 years in a row? Why does it feel like a big man? In front of the door of the first team building, Hirako Shinji drooped that recognizable stinky face. Then he was kicked to the wall 10 meters away by a kick that flew from nowhere and slowly slid to the ground with a very ridiculous posture. Ah, what's the matter? I seem to have kicked something. The foot feels great, much more comfortable than the bald Shinji's face. You kicked me in the face. Hirako Shinji limped up from the ground and glared at the smug Hiyori in the corridor. What are you yelling at? Who told you to put your face here? I can only blame yourself if I accidentally kicked it. Hiyori held his arms in disdain. Urahara Kasuke hurried to smooth things out. Miss Hiyori, you can't talk like that to the captain. That Captain Hirako, I apologize to you for Hiyori. Huh? Why are you apologizing? Huh? Why do you think I'll accept the apology? I'm the captain. Captain, it's already very disrespectful when he is arguing with girls. Aizen, who was on the side, stabbed Hirako Shinji and hurt him very much. Ugh! Sook, which side are you from? Of course I'm on your side. There are two people on the other side, as well as Captain Urahara, who is at the same level as you. Your chances of winning against you are too small. Then you are here to help me. Hey, you guys, what are you dawdling about? Why don't you hurry in? While Hirako Shinji denounced his vice captain, Muguro McKinsey came with Kunimashiro. As soon as they came, the door of the first team just opened. Soon, all the captains and vice captains gathered in the captain's conference room. Is the 10th division still vacant? What's the matter? Is there no talent in Soul Society? Oh, you can't talk nonsense like that, Captain Ekawa. Is there any secret? Mr. Jingle. It's hard to say. Kairaku Shunsue's expression was a little subtle, and he gestured to the commander-in-chief with his eyes. Love Ekawa didn't know, so he looked over, and then saw Captain Yamamoto's stinky face, constantly exuding low pressure, and the expressions of Rhodes and Yoruchi, who were closest, were unnatural. Okay, I won't ask. Say. Sure, Yukitake looked at Urahara Kasuke on the opposite side and smiled. The 2nd division is really talented. First you were Captain Urahara, and now there is a captain-level character. Ahaha, it's all thanks to Miss Yoruchi. Urahara Kasuke said that he was humble and could say such a thing without shame. Yoruchi, who was far away, twitched the corners of his mouth. Man, it's worse to brag than to scold. A hidden mobility first came out of a scientific research madman and became the captain of the 12th division. And now he has stepped out of another, it's hard to say what type of super genius, and became the captain of the 11th division, known for his fighting madness. Why isn't there a successor who is good at white hits? Hey Hiyori, I heard that you want to watch the scene yesterday? Yudomaru Lisa glanced at Hiyori, who also belonged to the even-numbered queue. The deputy captain of the 10th division was busy with government affairs and did not come to attend today, so that there was no one between them, which was very convenient for communication. Hiyori complained. Yeah, he was forcibly dragged away by that guy. What did he say to relax his mind after watching a good show? But after watching it, his mood became heavier. It was really maddening. There's nothing you can do about it. When there are victims in battle, the atmosphere is destined to not be much better, but that's not what I'm asking. Does that mean that the new captain is handsome? So, what's the use of being handsome? I don't like us anyway. You don't take me with you. Quiet. Captain Yamamoto tapped the ground with his cane, interrupting all the whispers. I called everyone here because just yesterday, under the arrangement of the 46th room, Kenpachi, the captain of the 11th division, had a fair duel with a challenger and finally died on the spot. According to the traditional tradition, the winner will replace Kenpachi in Ghost Rock City as the new captain of the 11th team and take over the title of Kenpachi. Today, the new captain will join us too. Come in. The voice fell. The closed door opened. Pada. Pada. The gentle steps show the calm attitude of the person. Whether they knew it or not, everyone threw their attention. It was a boy who looked only 15 or 16 years old. Although he was too young, what he was wearing was undoubtedly the white Hiyori that symbolized Godai 13's highest position. The 11th division is different from other divisions, so leave the introduction to yourself. Yes, the young man was as good as he was, and his eyes swept across the faces of the captains, including the vice captain. Good day, everyone. I am Guan Yue, who has been the new captain of the 11 team since yesterday. Guan Yue Kenpachi. Please give me more advice in the future. Aizen, who was not far away, had a smile on his lips, and the mirror reflection covered his eyes behind him, making it difficult to understand his mood at the moment. But from the surface alone, it didn't look bad. Celebrating the 7-day National Day holiday and reading books. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediately rushed to recharge. Event time, October 1st to October 7th, 65. Do you really not consider finding a partner? Let's not mention that guy Urahara. You have only joined the team for more than a year, and you suddenly became the captain. Now it is rumored that the third seed of our second team is the captain alternate. The second division team building, the outdoor gallery of the self-cultivation furnace studio. Bumblebee leaned against the wall and looked at the boy who was squatting on the ground and fiddling with something. Maybe knowing that the separation is imminent. The pretty face is not as cold and indifferent as before, but it is much softer, and even the tone is somewhat relaxed and mocking. Oh, that's a lot of pressure on the person who takes my seat. Speaking of which, has Captain Yuruchi decided on a good candidate? Are you planning to take the fourth seat? Guan Yu's hands kept moving, and his fingertips carried a touch of agile silver blue light. The pen walks the dragon and snake, and engraves one after another amulet on the ground of the outer porch. No, it's me who will replace you. Broken Bee raised his chin slightly and said with a little interest. Guan Yu turned his head a little surprised, gave her a look. Sister Broken Bee is here to be the new third seat and the team leader. Master Yuruchi said that I have worked in the sectarian team for a period of time, and it is not necessary to be transferred back to the punishment army, so I simply appointed me to pick up your class. It seems that the label of the third seed of the second team is the captain's candidate is difficult to win. I want to serve Yuruchi-sama for the rest of my life. Even if Bankai becomes the master, I won't be the captain of other divisions. But then again, I'm obviously your direct boss, so I'll actually appear to take your place. Situation, where is the problem? As he spoke, Broken Bee fell into contemplation. Isn't this proof that Sister Broken Bee is a real criminal? Serving in the light and working in the shadows. This kind of silent dedication is worthy of respect. Guan Yu stood up and turned his head to look at Broken Bee with the same beautiful smile on his face as when he joined the team. Although I have become the captain, I still have to call you sister. What? It doesn't sound very willing. Broken Bee's tone was dangerous. It's really a pity that I can't see the interesting reaction of senior sister every day, or I will discuss with Captain Yuruchi and dig you to my side. 55, then I will definitely engrave a bee pattern on your face. Terrible. Guan Yu shook his head and seemed to dismiss the thought. Okay, it's time for me to do it. Don't be too complacent and do outrageous things just because you are the captain. I don't want to go to your 11th team one day because of work. Broken Bee looked at the boy who put his hand on the wall, and his whole body was shrouded in a silver blue light, and couldn't help but exhort him. Guan Yu just smiled and didn't respond. The next moment, his whole person disappeared. Not just him, the wall that the hand touched, and behind the wall, the entire Slim Stove workshop, including the buildings above, disappeared. A huge but incomparably flat Tianking appeared out of thin air in the originally good-looking team building complex. Broken Bee looked at the clearly visible sky above her head, and there was a hint of loss in her eyes. Since he joined the Xingjuan, he has no personal life to speak of. Ishin serves Yuruchi around, has no friends, and has only his grandmother in his family. Guan Yu is not only her subordinate, but also the only friend she can chat with. Now this friend has gone to another team. Although she can still meet often if she wants to, she can't find the atmosphere before. Yo, Broken Bee, you are here. Wow, this guy, although I allowed it, but I didn't let him move the whole house in one breath. Yuruchi appeared swaggeringly when the Broken Bee was sullen. Not surprisingly, I was surprised by what happened here. Broken Bee rolled his eyes and said helplessly, if you only use space to transfer underground buildings, won't the buildings above still be smashed into pieces? That's right, forget it, it's just a breakup fee. Anyway, our second team has a lot of money, and a mere house is nothing. But let me think about what to build here. Yuruchi touched his chin, his eyes lit up, as if he had come up with some interesting idea. Breakup fee. No, let's not talk about this. The funds are all sponsored by the Omida family. You'd better discuss it with the vice captain? Yes. Seeing Yuruchi with a perfunctory look, Shui Feng was speechless, and couldn't help but feel a hint of remorse in his heart. Maybe he could really consider Guan Yu's previous poaching suggestion. Speaking of Broken Bee, did Guan Yu leave anything behind when he left? Seeking flowers 0. No, nothing special. Broken Bee's eyes flickered. In fact, there are some, such as poaching and complimenting senior sister, who is herself, but this is not easy to say. Yoruichi narrowed his eyes when he saw Broken Bee's reaction and suddenly said, "Did he not say when he will marry you?" 9 boom. The back of Broken Bee's head slammed against the wall, and the pain caused her to squat on the ground with tears in her eyes and flushed face, holding her head and sucking in the cold air. "Don't be so excited, Broken Bee. Or Yoruichi-sama. You suddenly said some strange jokes. No, I'm not kidding. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that the two of you have a very good relationship. It's the first time this kind of thing has happened to you, so I thought, you've reached the age of falling in love, why don't you just take this opportunity to set things down for the future?" Yoruichi said seriously, "It's not that kind of relationship between me and Guan Yue. There is no such development between us either." 55 The Broken Bee was angry and anxious. "What? It's such a waste to keep such a good resource, Broby. I'm very worried about the future of you and the Bee family. Is it still my fault?" But the future of the Bee family. Broken Bee couldn't help but fell into contemplation. At the moment, there are only himself and his grandmother left in the Bee family. If it does not continue, the Bee family will not be able to continue to serve the Yoruichi-sama and the Shihoin family in the future. Not because of death in battle, but because of this reason, it is really unreasonable to die. Maybe, probably, doesn't really need to think about it. Guan Yu's words seemed to be quite appropriate in all aspects. And many more. Nearly got rounded in. I'm too young to think about it now. 35? Well, you can figure it out for yourself. There are not many high-quality resources. Guan Yu has a successful career now, and he will definitely be popular with girls in the future. As a person of secret mobility, the principle of starting first is stronger. Deep is right. Seeing Broken Bee's reaction, Yoruichi was not disappointed. On the contrary, there was a sense of satisfaction that the plan had succeeded. After all, I patted my butt and left. Only left the Broken Bee dumbfounded and stood here, not knowing what to think. 66. Guan Yu's Three Fires. Second, Guan Yu, who didn't know that Yoruichi was behind the scenes, showed up in the open space prepared by the 11th team with a whole huge pavilion. The two sides were almost seamless, and it was smoother than building blocks. That's about it. Guan Yu checked the inside and out, and was very satisfied with his masterpiece. Come to the 11th team to take office. The self-cultivation furnace will definitely be moved. To this end, with the permission of Room 46, he went to the underground hall of the Great Spiritual Book to find out the real kid forbidden technique of time and space, and spent some time mastering it. Finally, circle the ground and directly connect the buildings on the ground to pack and take away. In contrast, other luggage is easier to handle. He didn't even need to take action. Tianbei brought a few people to help tidy it up properly. In the future, the upper floor of this palace will be my private residence, and the lower floor will be the research institute. The integration is indeed much more convenient. Guan Yu was not busy debugging the performance of the slim stove. After 380 finished the moving affairs, he waved his sleeves and ordered the team members to gather in the open square where they had duel with Ghost Rock City. In a few days, the repair work has been completed there. Get back to the way it was at the beginning. The only change was the blood stains left by Ghost Rock City. Guan Yu specially used Sacred Machine 100 Refinements to collect all the blood-stained floor tiles and make a huge stone tablet with a name on the top. Ghost Rock City, still written in his own blood. Seeing this monument and the name of the former captain, the team members who gathered here had mixed feelings. Guan Yu, dressed in Captain Haori, who was a little too wide for him, walked up to the temporarily built high platform and looked down at the hundreds of soldiers below. "Everyone, this is the 7th day that I have become your captain. Before that, I didn't interfere with all your actions. I think this time is enough for you to regain your calm, and those who should transfer teams are almost gone. Therefore, I will officially take over the affairs of the team from today. And there are a few points I need to state in advance. The first is the steel. It was built for no other purpose than to let everyone know it will be an engraving of the time our 11th team has spent, and every player who has made a great contribution to the 11th team can write your name in blood on it." As soon as these words came out, the people below couldn't help but discuss, and some even sneered disdainfully, probably thinking that Guan Yu was deliberately bribing people's hearts, or that it was only a satire for the former captain. "But you have to know, where is this place?" Guan Yu said suddenly. "The 11th Division is a battle team, and there is usually only one way. and that is to die in battle, and this is the only form of contribution that the 11th Division can recognize. The team members were silent for a while. Indeed, nothing could be more convincing than this. I have only one request from you. Guan Yue looked around the crowd and said shocking words. That is, never let your name appear on this monument. Death in battle? Contribution? That's just a kind of beautification. Only when we live can we have hope. We are already souls. It is reasonable to say that we should sink in the boundless darkness, but we have transcendental power and experience a more wonderful life. This means that we should cherish the hard-earned life even more. Don't talk about death at every turn, and don't aim to die in battle. If you are strong, let me live. Kill the enemy who dares to provoke us. Eliminate all threats. Let the enemy fear us. Let death not dare to approach us. The more skilled you are at fighting, the more you should learn how to live on the battlefield. I hope that what you can become is such an invincible and indelible undead army. To this end, I will do my best to make each of you stronger. This is the first and last promise I made to you as a captain, because this is my biggest work plan in the future. There is no time left to do anything else. If anyone is dissatisfied, I will allow you to leave today. But if you have any objection to come here today, I will make you kneel in front of this monument and let Ghost Rock City see how unbearable his old department is. Someone heard this and couldn't help shouting, BD! If you have any tricks, let it go. The purpose of my joining the 11th team is to become stronger than anyone else. That's right. I'm going to seek revenge for the bastards from the 7th Division. 35. Who can survive and want to die at the hands of the enemy? 35. Don't think you can look down on us when you become the captain. That's right. If you can't beat it, you can't beat it, but I'm not afraid. Aside from the guise of being Shinigami, these hundreds of people are basically reckless and impulsive, but more loyal than anyone else. Temper is more violent than the other. On the battlefield, fight one by one. Compared with other squad members, his character flaws are very obvious, but Guan Yue doesn't care about these. As long as he's not an idiot in the true sense, as long as he can fight hard, he will dare to use it. After all, the Shirkai ability of Absolute Mist is extremely suitable for Legion combat. It can temporarily turn nearby allies into undead bodies, and can also use damage transfer accumulation Reiatsu to release large-scale long-range artillery bombardment, bombing and dismembering the opponent's formation, creating opportunities for allies to cut in. The specific effect depends on the combat effectiveness of the friendly forces. Obviously, encounter the situation. This group of fighting madmen from the 11th Division will definitely rush up with the fastest speed and the most ferocious momentum, destroying all the enemies like wind and clouds. This is also the reason why Guan Yue chose to come to the 11. A very rational and capable subordinate. His needs are not strong. In fact, not only the 11th team, but the 2nd team is also quite suitable. Hidden mobility is also a slaughter specialization, not lacking in combat power and tenacity. It's a pity that even if Yuruchi is gone, the 2nd team won't be able to get outsiders to intervene. Hidden mobility must be controlled by the Shihoin family, and because of Yuruchi's willfulness, hidden mobility and the 2nd Division are highly integrated, and it is no longer easy to separate them out. The position of captain of the 2nd Division team has become a hot potato. Guan Yue doesn't need to use the 11th team. He has to use the 2nd team. Besides, Zaraki Kenpachi hasn't come yet. Now is a good opportunity to start. It's hard to say in a few years. Guan Yue chose to take the position at this time, and he fully took this into consideration. The momentum is very good. I hope you can carry 0.3 with this momentum to the end. Many of you have seen my abilities, and I'm not afraid to tell you that what I'm best at is Kid, whom you despise. Guan Yue said with a smile. I know the ethos of the 11th Division very well, let alone Kid, and Zanpakutō of the Kid department feels that they have lost their manly spirit, but soon I will show practical results and open the eyes of you Kid idiots. One last reminder. Grit your teeth, strain your nerves, and don't cry. Although it didn't exude a very powerful Reiatsu, Guan Yue's fluttering words seemed like a gust of cold wind blowing through everyone's heart, causing many people to secretly swallow their saliva. Precisely because he is a hot-blooded idiot and has a lot of nerves, sometimes his intuition is sharper than most people's. 4 updates today, and 2 more. 67. A country within a country, third more, 7 years later. Suriidi Bridal Town. 11th Team Quarters. Tianbei 3 seats. Good morning. Senior Tianbei came very early today. It's not that you submitted a report here saying that there is a problem with the facility. The captain asked me to come and check the situation. Tianbei Shouju said to the 2 guards with a helpless expression. It shouldn't be a big problem. Before the doorman could finish speaking, there was a sudden boom from the room behind him. You better see for yourself. The guard pressed the button next to it, and the door slowly opened. Tianbei Shouju entered with doubts. The inside of the door is not so much a room as it is a martial arts field. The area is more than 7,000 square meters. A completely sealed corridor surrounds the entire performance field. Many Shinigami from the 11th team are standing in the corridor, watching the battle in the performance field below through the transparent floor-to-ceiling windows in front of them. The internal venue uses Urahara Kisuke's 28 blue sky and white cloud-style wilderness environment simulation. The team members can play against each other freely in the martial arts field and hone their skills. In a place like this, there are currently 3 teams, and 8 more are expected to be built. In Guan Yue's words, it's not just a training facility. It has to be symbolic, so a total of 11 is needed. The internal environment of each arena is different. The functions are also not the same. For example, at the moment, the wilderness mode martial arts field where there are many rocks, the environment it simulates is the worst among all martial arts fields. To ask why, the reason is gravity. The gravity of this martial arts field is 3 times that of a normal environment. It can be further improved as needed. The key lies in the gravity generator buried in the ground. The latest achievement from Guan Yue's hand has been well received by the fighters and cultivators of the 11th Division. Although the self-cultivation furnace must be a high-quality product, it is inevitable that there will be failures if it is used too much. Like now. Oops, I knew that the Zanpakutō of the guy named Yutori Aksu was too unstable. And sure enough, because of the space conflict, the gravity generator failed again. This time I don't know how long it will be dead. Now the captain is going to curse. That's not necessarily true. After all, that guy is the research assistant that the captain asked for from the 9th Division. I just don't know that the guy who looks like a white face is actually a fighting maniac. Tianbei Shou just stood by and listened to the chatter of the team members and had a general grasp of the situation. So he asked, "Hey, you two, who is the person in charge here?" Tianbei, 3 seats. The 2 of them were suddenly startled and quickly stood up straight to say hello. The person in charge here is the vice captain of Jiuwu, but the vice captain was called away by the captain. Is it a rotation to the vice captain? Tianbei Shou rubbed his temples. Jiuwu is the materialization of Guan Yue's Zanpakutō, which is well known in the 11th Division, and Guan Yue appointed his own Zanpakutō as the vice captain. If it were placed in other divisions, it would definitely cause some controversy, but in the 11th Division, no one in the squad cared about that, not to mention the captain. As long as the deputy captain can fight, we will serve you. This idea can be said to be extraordinarily simple. Jiuwu is indeed very capable. Apart from being unable to speak, it is weird to always hold a sign to communicate with people, and after the appearance of the little girl is a little subtle, no one feels bad. The person in charge of the martial arts field implements a rotation system, and the requirement is, whoever is stronger will be the person in charge, which is equivalent to a guarding mechanism, which can not only stimulate the team's motivation, but also promote the improvement of combat effectiveness. In the end, maybe it is true, can it play a role in exercising management skills? In this regard, even Guan Yue, who made the rules, has no confidence in telling the truth. He can only do his best to obey the destiny. A well-organized army must have a group of solid and reliable grassroots cadres, right? Then wait for the vice captain to come back. You can tell her and let her handle it. I won't report it to the captain. It should be. There is no need to trouble the captain with everything. 99. The captain is also very hard. Let the old man rest more. Having said that, the 2 team members had a heartfelt expression on their faces. Train well if you don't want to be punished in the next ranking match. The captain is very busy, but this does not prevent the captain from coming up with some interesting punishment measures, because for him, it is an alternative relaxation and entertainment. Tianbei Shou patted their shoulders earnestly. In the past 7 years, The changes that Guan Yu has brought to the entire 11 team can be described as not much. There were many people who were not convinced at first. Grab a bunch of them with prejudice. But Guan Yu is not the kind of high-ranking person with a simple mind. He is ruthless with his left hand and hot with his right. The people's hearts were initially gathered, and the whole team gradually flourished. He was so tired of being the third seat, and all day long, because of various reports, the investigation has been very clear. More affairs means more problems. But if problems can be solved quickly, then a huge driving force will gradually form, pushing everyone to develop in a good direction. This is the kingly way of using power to overwhelm people. Tianbei Senshi, the captain, called you to go to the research institute. 35 at this time, the doorman probed and shouted. He holds a communicator like a walkie-talkie in his hand. This is also one of the research results of Guan Yu. Of course, the Technology Development Bureau has also made a lot of efforts. The two parties jointly promoted the Portable Messenger 380 machine through the channel of the Chamber of Commerce composed of Xia Dalu, Kachiki, and Shuan, which greatly reduced the cost. The degree strengthens the efficiency of information flow. At that time, Guan Yu told Qiandi and King Gong on Sheda Road that he wanted to change people's lives through technology, not just painting cakes. Information, transportation, medical, military, and many other fields are included in the development schedule. Got it? 99 Tian Beishio subconsciously touched his chest, and sure enough, he forgot to bring the messenger. It's like being too busy. But the captain's order is more important, and I have to wait until I go back to get it. Immediately rushed to the research institute a kilometer away. In recent years, in order to build training facilities such as the martial arts field, a large number of buildings have been knocked down and rebuilt, and then expanded, and the entire team building has become different from before. The halls are magnificent. The courtyards are bright and open. The main roads are paved with white and flat white rocks, and there are many statues and patterns of mighty beasts. The entire team building covers an area of 800,000 square meters, with the four walls as the dividing line, and the outside is the block of the bridal town. It is rude to say that Guan Yu is based on the memory of the Forbidden City and combined with the composition of Siriidii, to build the 11th team building into a palace within Siriidii. Just like the nobles demarcated a noble area in the area under the jurisdiction of the 6th Division, Guan Yu is also making a big move to build his own kingdom. 68. The Old Farmer's Work, 4th Moor. The house moved from the 2nd Division is located in the center of the team building, and it plays its due function as the heart and brain of the 11th Division. At the same time, it is also protected by the best. It can be seen from the surface that the distance between the whole ancient temple and other buildings is very obvious, and the appearance is relatively unique. There are no windows, doors, and other designs at all, and you can't find an entrance if you look around. The ground is inlaid with rail-like materials, and because the stitching is extremely tight, people will not step on it and stumble. If you look down from the sky, you will find that all the tracks form a huge 8 trigrams array. Guan Yu has never disclosed the function of this defense system, nor has it ever been activated. On weekdays, he relies on the simplest and most extensive barrier to act as a city wall to prevent unauthorized people from trespassing and entering by mistake. But every time Tianbei Shouju approached here, he would feel a strange feeling in the spirit child in the atmosphere. It's like one head broke into another time and space. The body and mind are subtly out of harmony. There is no doubt that fighting in this environment will affect the accuracy of whatever you do. Tianbei Shouju stood at one of the 8 entrances, in the square area with the word dry written on it, and in the next second, a cluster of silver-blue spirits climbed up the whole body from the soles of his feet. He didn't take it seriously either, letting these spirits completely cover himself. The functions of these spiritual clusters have 2 functions. One is to detect the comprehensive information such as Ryatsu and physical signs of the incoming person to determine the identity and report the result to Guan Yu himself remotely. If it is an unrecognized intruder, he will be arrested, killed directly. If it passes, it will be teleported into the interior of the palace. This unique way of getting in and out was also talked about by the team members. What a palace without an entrance, and so on. Maybe one day it will spread to the whole Siriidii, and it will become some kind of urban legend or something. Tianbei opened his eyes again, and found that he had appeared inside the Underground Research Institute's slim furnace studio. Different from the outside world, the various things here are no different from the last time I came to experience the so-called spiritual optimization and adjustment that the captain said. But this is secondary. What really made him unforgettable was that after that time, Ryatsu really improved a lot, and he felt as if his body and mind had ushered in sublimation, and he became a master of shirkai soon after returning. Otherwise, there is no way to sit in the third seat of the 11th team now. Captain, seeing Guan Yue standing in front of the slimming stove, Tianbei Xiao Zhu hurriedly stepped forward to say hello. Come on, I heard that there is a malfunction at the martial arts field. Guan Yue waved his hand and stared at the crystal dome, standing in front of him like a handicraft at this time. The self-cultivation furnace is running, and the inner spirit is extremely full of light, but the specific situation cannot be seen from the outside. But the central console supervises everything, and there will be a response if there is a situation. It is quite convenient and saves a lot of manpower. Otherwise, there will be a group of technicians like Kuritsushi Mayuri, and he can't stand it. After all, many insiders cannot be easily known to outsiders. Yes, the martial arts field with abnormal gravity has malfunctioned due to the influence of a team member's Zanpakutō ability, but the situation is not serious. In my opinion, this problem can be completely solved with a little debugging. 5 Tianbei embroidery helps to tell the truth. Is it done by Aksu? Guan Yu's tone of affirmation seemed to have been expected. I have records of all the Zanpakutō of the 11th Division, and only his Zanpakutō is of the space system, which is most likely to affect the gravity generator. 35. I heard he wasn't the technician you hired. What? The technician can only sit in front of the Institute's instruments and look at the data sheet of the spiritual child. I know what you mean. He is currently in the observation period and cannot be assigned any tasks for the time being. You're also a person who has entered the self-cultivation furnace, and you should know it is confidential importance. 39 Tianbei Xiao helped him understand, and then asked, do you need me to test this person? No, the character analysis has already been completed, and now let him have a good time. Putting aside interest, if there is no other choice, who would give up their strength not to pursue, and choose to stay in the laboratory? If you stay there, you can stay there for a whole day. 99 Guan Yue laughed. Also, his Zanpakutō ability is very strong, and he is not yet a master shirkai, and he can rival the upper seat officer. After he is proficient in using it, I must not be his opponent. It is a pity that such a person is put in the laboratory. Tianbei embroidery sighed. It's impossible to be better than you. Guan Yue turned around and patted him on the shoulder, saying meaningfully, last time I asked you to come, I gave you a lot of benefits. This time I asked you to come. Also, you won't come home empty-handed. Team leader? Tianbei Zaisu couldn't help, but his heart beat faster. At this time, the self-cultivation furnace moved. Various functions are gradually shutting down, which means that Guan Yu's waiting this time has come to an end. The entrance to the crystal wall was opened, and the dense mist of spirits leaked wildly. In just a few seconds, the concentration of air spirits in the Research Institute increased by several percentage points. Slap, slap. Wearing an extremely conservative black nun dress, the left sideburns are all white, and the young girl wearing a metal blindfold. Zhu Mist, holding a pure blue ball of energy body light with a silver arc on it, carefully walked out. Oh, it seems that the production was successful. Guan Yue couldn't help showing a happy expression when he saw the sphere. Tianbei Xiao, who was beside him, didn't say a word. Although curious, he was able to control his curiosity. Tempi, have you heard of Jiaku? Guan Yue took the ball of light from Jiawu and looked at it carefully, and at the same time asked a question suddenly. Ball, Jade? 35, although the pronunciation is the same, it is the collapse of the collapse, and the combination of Jade, its ability is also just like its name, can make things collapse and reorganize, and make things look like the user wants to see. In a sense, it's almost like a wish-fulfilling machine. Is this Jiaku in your hand? 99 Tianbei Xiao was shocked to speak, and Guan Yue almost choked. No, I haven't been able to make Jiaku yet, but the one you've seen now is not bad. It's called Old Known Gong, and the good monies. Name is not very pleasant, but it's easier to understand. 35 Simply put, I plan to implant it in the human body, and the parasite's body is equivalent to having an extra seed. The parasite waters it with its own Ryatsu to make it grow. When it reaches a certain level, It will usher in a good harvest and give back. It can be said that the more Ryatsu you spend, the more rewarding you will be. Because it is very similar to farming, and it is an alternative practice. It is called the Old Farmer Group. I didn't ask you to come for anything else. I just wanted to ask if you would like to be the first test subject. A test item. No problem. I'm willing to accept this task. Tianbei Shizhu quickly corrected his mentality and agreed. He cares more about the importance of this matter to the captain than the benefits. If there is such a powerful ability, then the captain and the 11th team can obtain huge benefits. This kind of thing is not a matter of personal gain or loss. 69. What is a suture monster? Tianbei still underestimated Guan Yu's ability. Although it is a test product, the stability of the products produced by the slimming furnace is absolutely trustworthy. The implantation process of Old Known Gong is very simple. Let Tianbei maintain a state of saber meditation. After the body and mind are empty, Guan Yu slammed the sphere of sparkling silver arcs into his chest with a palm. In the next moment, you can see the center of the chest, the two acupuncture points of Suajie and Pojui, which produce the spiritual child, release an amazing light, and the inside and outside of the spiritual body is as transparent as glass. With the spiritual sphere settled between the lock knot and the soul sleep. Whenever spiritual power is produced, it will flow through, like a tree in a creek. Let the running water naturally saturate itself, obtain nutrients from it, and thrive. Compared with the rudeness of touching the Yao Dao to absorb Ryatsu from the wielder and then returning more powerful power, this method could be described as moisturizing things silently. If he didn't say it, Host wouldn't even notice that there was something in his body that was constantly absorbing his spiritual power. Because it is not a unilateral seizure in essence. It is closer to the form of symbiosis. They are all grasshoppers on a rope, and naturally, they will not harm the interests of the host. Even if the growth process requires a lot of nutrients, during this period of time, the spiritual light ball is not light. As it grows, host will also benefit from it. It is equivalent to opening a penguin member. The level growth rate is higher than that of ordinary users. 1 day is equal to 1.5 days, and the level will naturally be far ahead after a long time. The principle of old farmers' work is also the same. The spiritual power paid by the host is far less than the overall benefit brought by the growth rate. If not, how can it be called cultivation? This alone is enough to make countless Shinigami, with ordinary qualifications, try their best to grab it. But in Guan Yu's view, this is only secondary. Old Known Gong is a product created by me using the self-cultivation furnace to simulate the operation of the key origin flow, and then using Jiu Wu as a template. In essence, it is a prototype of some kind of power similar to the sealed state. Guan Yu's eyes flickered and he thought to himself, the origin of key body is the special technique with the strongest growth potential of the 8 wonders, and its absolute dominance over the spiritual child is the best primitive foundation for cultivation. The Gong was born. The name of origin stream is indeed worthy of the name. I don't know if my old farm work is the same as the old farm work inherited by the protagonist of the one-person world, but the old farm work embryo I made based on Zanpakutō can grow together with Shinigami. First is the embryo, and then it will form a spiritual baby, a teenager, a youth, an adult, and so on. Each stage will bring a huge improvement to the host, but this part of the power, I want to retain 90% of it. Origin of key body. It has the same dominance as Yuhabaka's sacred text, and its dominance over Lao Known Gong is also absolute, and I can take it back as much as possible at any time. As long as I spread out the embryos of the old farm work, I can get a lot of Shinigami to help me practice. The origin of key body. That's right. This is exactly the purpose of Guan Yu's creation of Lao Known Gong. So far, the cultivation of key origin stream has not been on the right track, and he can only use the seemingly incomprehensible spiritual absolute domination, ignoring all spiritual phenomena in a small area. It is true that he is strong, but for Guan Yu, it is only a means of fighting. The value is greatly reduced. He guessed that he was looking in the wrong direction, so it took a few years to go back and study it carefully. Hard work pays off. Finally, Guan Yu found the answer. That is, key body origin there is no way to practice. How to use it to gain power is up to the individual. Just like the era of spiritual key recovery, in some worlds, spiritual ki is the foundation of all cultivation. Without spiritual ki, any secret book is waste paper. On the other hand, if there is spiritual ki, there is no secret manual. In the absence of theoretical support, it is impossible to talk about applied technology. Therefore, Guan Yu decided to imitate Yue Bak, using Ki origin stream to create a prototype of power with strong growth potential, and then give it to Shinigami, who also has strong potential, until this prototype of power is perfected and then unified recycle. All the finished products that have the same root and the same origin, but have subtle differences due to different hosts are integrated under the action of Ki origin flow. No more than that, my Ki body origin stream is also evolving according to the model of the old farmer, which means that I have bred a greater power Uzumaki in my body. 99, Guan Yu stroked his chest. Master, who originated from the old farm work, how could he put such a good practice, buff and used? Right now, Ki origin stream has long been brewing a nebula-like gaseous Uzumaki between the knot and the sleep. An infinite attraction is generated inward, which makes the soul become more and more close. But whether it is Uzumaki or a high-density soul, they are only the basic conditions laid for achieving transformation. When I use Sanji to take back all the old farm work in the host, this huge force will make the power Uzumaki in my body usher in a huge change like the Big Bang of the universe, and push my power to a higher level in one breath. Dimension. If Lu Library Immortal Thief can also achieve the superdimensional spiritualization of the spirit body. So what is the difference between the superdimensional power and the superdimensional body from the Spirit King who opened up the three realms? The predecessors planted trees, and the others enjoyed the shade. The ancients did not deceive me. Guan Yu sighed in his heart. Along the way, he has become an ultimate suture monster. Zanpakutō Menos Grande's soul-devourer. Body-strengthening copy Aaroncar's physique structure. A gift of the soul of the old farmer's friend Habak. Fusion power copy Aizen's Jayaka fusion. Is this the master who knows the law and knows how to use it? Love. Ju, you should go to work in the martial arts field and take this guy out by the way. Guan Yu uses his Zanpakut as unceremoniously as a maid. After sending away Tianbei, embroidery assistant, he began to think about which destined person he should give to the old farmer in the future. It takes a lot of time to make this thing, and it takes a lot of time to shape it. You can't put the share of the spirit and the use time of the self-cultivation furnace on it. So you must pick out the most potential Shinigami. No matter the captain level, their Reiatsu is too strong, but it is easy to crush the spiritual light ball that the old farmer implements. It's okay to grow up, but the rudimentary state can't bear the captain level Reiatsu. This is also a pity, but then again, the captain level Shinigami is not so easy to accept his gift. While Guan Yu was thinking about it, suddenly a hell butterfly flew in and took the initiative to post with him. Emergency assembly. Emergency assembly. There is an emergency in the 9th Division, and the Captain Muguru Makensei and the Deputy Captain Kuna Mishiro Reiatsu have disappeared. Please go to the 1st Division's quarters immediately and repeat. I didn't wait for the voice resounding from the hell butterfly to go on. Guan Yu waved him away, took out the messenger machine, and started calling. Jiuwu, come to the first team to meet in front of the gate. 70. Familiar historical turning points after half an hour. Guan Yu walked into the first team meeting room with Zanpakut transformed into a mist. At this time, more than half of the captains were already present. It's too slow, Guan Yu. The commander-in-chief scolded him when he saw him coming in. Isn't there anyone who hasn't arrived? Don't be so harsh on young people who have just taken office. Guan Yu answered with ease, while he came to his own position skillfully and stood up. The commander-in-chief snorted coldly and ignored him. In fact, if you really want to care, Guan Yu is good. If it was changed to Ghost Rock City, I would definitely be too lazy to attend any captain's meeting. No way. That's Kenpachi's prerogative. So, what happened, Captain Jushiro? Guan Yu asked in a low voice next to Shuri Yukitake. Jushiro, who has always been a good man, explained rarely with a serious face. In the past month, mysterious disappearance cases of ghosts have occurred in Rukongai one after another. The commander-in-chief sent the 9th Division to investigate the situation, but it seems that the investigation advance team, may have all been killed. It turns out that this is really unexpected. Guan Yu said so, but his eyes swept behind Hirako Shinji. This emergency meeting is of great importance, and the vice captain is not allowed to watch. But there is no doubt that it was Aizen's trick. It's already time. Looking back on the original future trajectory, Guan Yu's mood is quite subtle. Over the years, he has been taking care of the 11th Division, as well as his own cultivation. So many things have piled up together, and he almost forgot about it. But the most important thing is the lack of a sense of crisis. Reached a tacit understanding with Aizen, and successively developed a non-interfering moment. The 46 rooms are also under their control, and the big Siriidii is like a back garden. Even if Aizen wants to do something, it is difficult to harm himself. As for the plot, it was completely used by Guan Yu as a training material. The so-called trend can be changed easily. In this case, the credibility of information will be greatly reduced. Not only unbelievable, but even unbelievable. It is not easy to lead yourself astray and make wrong judgments. Just like what's happening right now. Guan Yu can only be sure that it was Aizen's ghost, but the specific process, he can't assert. After all, even the time of the incident changed from midnight to daytime. So it's not surprising that Aizen's ideas and practices have changed. No wait, a meeting is now held. The commander-in-chief tapped the ground with his cane and announced loudly in a more oppressive tone than before. The captains, including Guan Yu, listened carefully. According to the report from the front line, the advanced personnel of the 9th Division, who were in charge of investigating the case of the disappearance of the soul in Rukongai, have disappeared mysteriously, and its captain and deputy captain Ryatsu have disappeared. Whether it was killed in an attack or trapped somewhere, this matter has turned into a major case that has to be resolved, and the reputation of Godei 13 is at stake. The old man will select 5 Shinigami from the captain's class to go to the scene of the incident to investigate, and ask to find out the situation as soon as possible. 35 boom. At this time, Urahara Kisuke suddenly pushed the door and barged in, panting and sweating. Chief, please let me go. Urahara Kisuke, the commander-in-chief, looked worried. The summoning order has been issued for so long. What were you doing before this? Sorry, I'm preparing something that might come in handy. So the commander-in-chief, please send me there. My adjutant is also there. We can form a better match. No. Before Urahara Kisuke could finish speaking, the commander-in-chief interrupted forcefully. As the director of the Technology Development Bureau, you are not suitable for frontline combat. Your role in Siriidii will be far greater than your combat effectiveness. This is the judgment of this old man, and no objection is allowed. Looking at Urahara Kisuke's lost face and being scolded by Yoruichi again, Guan Yu's eyes flickered, and he didn't know what he was thinking. The commander-in-chief continued. The following will announce the candidates for support. The captain of the 3rd Division Torabashi, RJR. Hirako Shinji, captain of the 5th Division. 7th Division, Captain Love Aikawa. Guan Yu Kinpachi, captain of the 11th Division. The above personnel form a special action team for the disappearance of the soul. Wait, old man Shan seems to have missed one? Didn't you say 5? Kairaku Shunsui said in surprise. The captain did not answer, but turned his attention to Guan Yu. Guan Yu, Zanpakutō, bring it. 39. Guan Yu looked a little weird. Counting the vice captains of the 11th Division, there are exactly 5. 35. Oh, I almost forgot about Xiaoju. What a pity. I wanted to take this opportunity to send my little Lisa out to gain experience. Kairaku Shunsui shrugged. Urahara Kisuke felt relieved when he heard this. With Guan Yu around, Hiyori's personal safety is at least guaranteed, as long as she doesn't have an accident. In addition, Shihoin Yoruichi, the captain of the 2nd Division, is waiting for the follow-up feedback from the Special Operations Team as a backup. 6th Division Captain Kachiki Inling, 8th Division Captain Kairaku Shunsui, and 13th Division Captain Shiryukatake are in charge of defending Siriidii. 55. Uno Hanaretsu, the captain of the 4th Division, is on standby at the Comprehensive Treatment Center, ready to rescue the injured. As soon as the commander-in-chief finished speaking, Uno Hanaretsu said softly, "Please wait a moment, Commander-in-Chief. The journey from the front line to and from the front line is a long way, and I may miss the best time for treatment. maybe I can go with you. How can you easily send valuable medical personnel to the front line? But what you said makes sense. Let Deputy Kid Chief Hachijin accompany him, and Guan Yu, who is also good at Kid, is not a problem to stabilize the condition of the injured. Following the commander's words, two figures appeared behind Urahara Kisuk. It was Grand Kid Chief Tessai Tsukabshi and Deputy Kid Chief Hachijin. Finally, Tessai Tsukabshi and Urahara Kisuk are stationed at the Technology Development Bureau, and do your best to gather intelligence to cooperate with the Special Operations Team's investigation. Point 35. The above. Time is precious. Hurry up and move. The Commander-in-Chief gave an order, and everyone walked towards the door. Guan Yu, Hiyori will ask you. When passing by Urahara Kisuk's side, Guan Yu heard such a low, inaudible voice. Don't act like you're going to marry your child. I'm only responsible for executing orders, and I don't care about the rest. Guan Yu put his hands in his sleeves, threw a word, and left swiftly. 71. I will definitely let you live. I didn't expect this task to fall on my head in the end. Guan Yu, who rushed to the front line with Hirako Shinji and others, shook his head secretly. He didn't want to interfere with Aizen's experimental process, but there was no way to do it now. If you think about it, it's not surprising. The Special Action Team needs combat strength, and as the captain of the combat team, it is natural to be on top. To prevent further victims. In spite of physical exhaustion, the group frequently used Shuinpa to hurry, and soon arrived at the site of the incident, and also saw the camp set up by the 9th Division. Judging from the remaining Ryatsu, there seems to be no fierce battle. Hachijin ran out of breath, but was still doing his research seriously. Hey, come and see. There is bloodline here. Love Aikawa pointed to the grass, 397, and shouted to the crowd. It's the blood of Saragaki Hiyori. Guan Yu came to a conclusion at a glance. Captain Guan Yu, this Ryatsuan blood is messy. Why are you sure it's Miss Hiyori's blood? Hachijin checked and was surprised. I'm looking at the structure of Ryatsu, not feeling the components of Ryatsu like you. Guan Yu pointed to his pupils, which were flashing silver blue light. In my eyes, the blood Ryatsu has a messy color, but its structure is similar to that of Saruki. 99, almost what does that mean? Can Ryatsu's structure be changed? Hirako Shinji asked with a frown. Guan Yu disapproved and said, normally, of course it won't change, but if something happens, it's hard to say. The disappearance of the 6th team leader and the vice-captain Jiu Nan has become suspicious. I don't care what happens again. It would be weird. No matter whose blood is there, since there are traces of it, just follow it. Even if you find a corpse in the end, it's better than nothing. Torabashi RJR sighed, thinking rather pessimistic. Bloodline is still extending. Love Aikawa took a few steps forward and noticed something strange again. No footprints, just bloodline, as if they were trying to show us the way. 99 Hirako Shinji smelled something unusual. Afterwards, the 5 went deep into the jungle along the bloodline and continued to search for the whereabouts of Hiyori, Kinsai, and others. It was clearly a sunny day, but there was a cold and ominous atmosphere quietly pervading, especially when everyone saw 3 figures hanging in midair on 3 trees deep in the jungle. The emotions that had been suppressed for a long time exploded like an oil barrel smeared with sparks. Hizori, Kinksy, 35, White is here too. Guan Yu is okay. Hirako Shinji and the others have a good relationship with each other, and their eyes are red when they see this scene. The 3 were hung from different tree trunks, still hanging upside down. The wounds on his body continued to bleed, and his face was stained red. Even though the crowd exclaimed, they did not respond to the sound. It was like a cold corpse. Hurry up and save people. Hirako Shinji was about to rush up, but Guan Yu raised his hand and stopped him. Wait, are you sure these are really the people we're looking for? That being said, the possibility of a trap is indeed very high. Calm down, Shinji. Do you leave it alone? I think it's better to be careful and push while checking the surroundings. There is also a person to be responsible for responding. Then Guan Yu, you stay vigilant and respond. Xiaobo checks the surrounding environment, and I, Luo Wu, and Rhodes are responsible for each. Hirako Shinji took a deep breath, regained his composure, and made the most reasonable decision at the moment. I have no opinion. Guan Yu nodded slightly. But then, Guan Yu, Can't you see through the Ryatsu structure? Can't determine their identities? For sure. Tisk gets tricky. Guan Yu's meaning is not difficult to understand. It was because it was largely confirmed that the three people hanging upside down were themselves. So the probability of a trap is very high. After all, how can fake lures be as attractive as real lures? Are the people who deliberately use bloodline to bring them here just to let everyone appreciate their masterpiece? It seems that even if we want to use kid and other means to put people down in the air, it won't work because that idiot may be hiding in the dark and staring at it now and doing something to the three of them. My Zanpakutō ability makes you immune to damage. Really? There's such a good thing. The captain's arrangement is really reliable. It's more reassuring now. Guan Yu's words greatly boosted everyone's confidence, and they acted immediately. Hachijin walked at the forefront with extreme seriousness, with orange light flashing in his hand, apparently using the best enchantment technique to investigate possible traps around him. Hirako Shinji, Rhodes, and Luo Wu looked at each other, moved separately, and approached the three trees carefully. "Hello, Hiyori. Can you hear me?" When Hirako Shinji was only 3 or 4 meters away, he raised his head and shouted tentatively. But the hanging Hiyori didn't respond at all. "TSK, you really have to do it yourself." Hirako Shinji glanced back and forth, his whole body tense. The next moment, Shuunpa suddenly disappeared. A sharp knife light flashed away in the air. "Success here? Retreat." Hirako Shinji fell to the ground with Hiyori in his arms, turned his head to look at Rhodes and Luo Wu. However, at this moment, Hiyori in his arms suddenly vomited, and a large amount of white strange substance spurted out of his facial features, which was as turbid and heavy as mud, making people not want to touch it at all. But at such a close distance, trying to avoid the splash of these substances is undoubtedly a fool's dream. "Little bowl, quickly think of a way." Just as Hirako Shinji shouted, a 0-3 of 6 paths light suddenly appeared out of nowhere, binding him and Hiyori together. Not only him, but also Rhodes and Luo Wu. "Big everyone, Captain Guan Yue." Hachijin looked back at Guan Yue in surprise. This sudden 6-stick light prison came from his hands. If it's another trap, it's okay to say. Since it's still the same hollow as always, there's no reason to leave it alone. After all, this is also a rare opportunity for me. Guan Yue sighed. As if from the bottom of his heart, he felt sorry for the situation. "Guan Yue, what do you try to do?" Hirako Shinji questioned loudly. "Don't worry. I will definitely let each of you live. It may be hard to find someone in this world who wants you to live more than I do." 9, Guan Yue said, and turned his attention to the only person present who was not restrained. 72. The fisherman's benefit Luo Wu, who noticed this, quickly warned loudly. "Xiaobo, be careful." Afterwards, his face was covered by the hollow substance overflowing from Chuanshi's body in his arms, and he could no longer communicate with each other. However, Guan Yue also noticed that using Tong Tianlu with the pseudo-duo technique to release the 6 light prisons 3 times at the same time, although it is a complete effect, it is still a bit reluctant to restrain 2 people who are out of control by hollow at one time. Can even my kid be suppressed? Breaking the boundaries, the explosive improvement brought by the reorganization of the soul, is really powerful. But this is also the result I want to see. Guan Yue added another round of Bakud 63. At the same time, just wave. With only the sleeve robes, the conical enchantment unleashed by Hachijin was defeated. Anti-ghost. Killing. As Kenpachi, you actually use this method to counteract my kid? The latter shocked Ultimate. Because I am the only Shinigami in the past who became Kenpachi with Kid. You who have been in the Kid community for a long time must have heard that I am good at Kid. But you will only think that's all? Guan Yue looked at the deputy Kid in front of him with a calm expression, without the slightest complacency over him. 28 after all? Both sides are best at Kid. Professional collision. Winning is the right thing to do, and losing is the worst thing to do. Captain Guan Yue, you don't sound like the mastermind of this incident. It's too late to stop now. Hachijin sweated profusely on his forehead, trying to persuade Guan Yue to change his mind. Nowadays, the proud kid is suppressed in all directions, and he is powerless no matter what he wants to do. I've made up my mind. I don't need to say more. Guan Yue squeezed a sword mark, and the 8 trigrams array under his feet expanded and expanded, covering everyone in the blink of an eye. Qimen after the wind. Activate. Hachijin soon found himself completely immobile. Even thinking stopped at this moment. Time stands still. If Big Kid can do it, so can I. Guan Yu looked at the few people who were all motionless and turned into statues, and slowly put down his hands. Time stillness and space transfer are both kid-forbidden techniques, and he has learned these 2 techniques for 7 years, and he has already mastered them and combined them with the chaos of Wind Queen Qimen. Can cause all matter in the space where Ryatsu does not exceed his own object to stagnate and freeze. It's like pinching out a piece of amber with your own hands. I was worried that I didn't know who to give the old farm work to help me cultivate, but Aizen gave me a big gift. Guan Yu's mood at the moment is also a little subtle. Not happy to say. Quite sad anyway. As soon as he arrived, he felt that Aizen was not nearby, so he thought about saving if he could, and the task was the priority. If you want to save them, it is inevitable that they will be corroded by hollow during the contact process. This is a trap set by Aizen for the support troops. The aim is to conduct a high-profile hollow experiment to see if the captain-level Shinigami can adapt to hollow. If that's the case, it's better to keep doing it and let Hirako, Shinji, and others be corroded by hollow. He took the opportunity to implant the old farmer's work into several people's bodies, and then brought it back to Urahara Kasuke for treatment. Their current state is weak and chaotic. If it is implanted now, with the process of soul reorganization, the spiritual light ball will be more in-depth. Even if the strength of Hirako, Shinji, and others has improved after Master Hollow, the spiritual light ball will not be broken due to insufficient strength. On the contrary, it will greatly speed up the formation of spiritual babies and shorten the overall cultivation time. Compared with the original Qimen army, there is only one less Yudima release, and no, there may be more people. Guan Yu thought of Aizen, who is currently missing. Obviously set a trap, but people are not here waiting for the prey to take the bait. It just shows that he has other plans. Did the commander-in-chief send me out to disrupt his original actions? Guan Yu thought about it for a while, and then put it behind him. In any case, the top priority is to get the benefits that should be obtained first. Afterwards, he performed space transfer and brought everyone directly to his studio of self-cultivation furnace. I'll leave it to you here. Don't forget to revise their memory. And I don't want to be targeted as an enemy. It's enough to have Aizen outside to attract firepower. 95 after starting the self-cultivation furnace, and entrusting all matters such as manufacturing and implantation to Jiuwu, Guan Yu hurriedly left the Underground Research Institute and went to the private room on the uppermost floor. Open the window and look around. The weather was still the same. No violent storms, lightning, and thunder. But the whole Seriidii vibe was quite different. Ryatsu is especially confusing. It seems that fighting is taking place in many places. The personnel of each division are scattered in every corner of Seriidii, as if they are arresting someone. The 11th team was very quiet. It seemed that the captain did not intend to use the 11th division for the time being, indicating that the situation had not developed to the stage of getting out of control, or that he did not want to invest more manpower, which made the situation even more chaotic. Guan Yu pondered for a while, and called Tian Beishio over with a messenger. After a while, Tian Beishio Zhu hurriedly arrived. Captain, didn't you go out on a mission? Leave that aside. What's going on with Seriidii now? Guan Yu went straight to the point. Tian Beishio's expression turned stern and immediately reported. An hour ago, someone reported that the body of the advanced team of the 9th Division and related research materials were hidden in the Technology Development Bureau, and all the evidence pointed to Urahara Kasuke, the captain of the 12th Division, using his position, doing illegal experiments with Shinigami .39 during the process of summoning Urahara Kasuke. The members of the 6th Division found that Urahara Kasuke appeared in their jurisdiction, and then the deputy captain of the 6th Division, Kachiki Tsangjuan, rushed to the team and was killed. 35-410, his body seems to have been subjected to some experiment, and it has completely turned into an empty appearance. Captain Kachiki wants to rescue, but suffers instead. After the two destroyed a pass, they were finally subdued by the captain and sent to the 4th Division. Rescue. Right now, The commander-in-chief is ordering the various divisions to hunt down Urahara Kasuke and Tessai Tsukabshi in the court. But our 11th and 2nd divisions are not allowed to intervene. Captain is preventing me and Yuruchi from lingering in love. Guan Yue pondered. But Aizen really dared. Framed Urahara Kasuke and Tessai Tsukabshi, and brought in the captain and vice-captain of the 6th division. If you include Hirako Shinji and others, this time 6 captains were lost. And that doesn't include Tessai Tsukabshi and Yuruchi, who can jump back at any time as captains. You go down first, stare at those idiots, don't let them run around at this time, they will die, and don't reveal the news that I have returned. Guan Yu gave an order, then sit down and wait patiently for the process on Jiuwu's side to complete. During this time, I was afraid that I would not be able to go anywhere. Hope Urahara Kasuke can survive this time and don't get caught by the captain. Otherwise, without Hijayaku, we would have to rely on the self-cultivation stove to help Hirako Shinji and others survive the hollow. Guan Yu didn't want Aizen to realize that his slimming stove had such a powerful performance. Isn't it fragrant to sit aside and enjoy the benefits of a fisherman like you are now? 73. Uno Anaretsu is very big. First update, from dusk to dusk, the temperature gets colder. The manhunt in Siriidii continues. Even without results, it must continue. First, the 9th Division, and then the 4 captains and Deputy Chief Kid who went to investigate but had no news. Then the captain of the 12th Division was suspected of mutiny, and the chief and deputy captain of the 6th Division was killed. Counting the 11th Division who have been vacant so far, there are only 5 captains of the 1st Division, the 2nd Division, the 4th Division, the 8th Division, and the 13th Division who are still alive in the entire Godii 13 team. In a blink of an eye, more than half of the maximum combat power was lost. Everyone seems to have a fire burning in their hearts, and they need an answer. Fortunately, the captain is mature and prudent, and the scheduling is well organized. At present, most of the team members are devoted to the search work, which is not a temporary countermeasure to divert conflicts and attention, so as not to lead the group without a leader, to avoid people who are at odds with each other, and to do what they want to do because of their impulsiveness, which will cause even more trouble. 4th Division, Comprehensive Relief Center. There were people coming and going in the corridor, and the medical class was busy. Unlike Hirako Shinji and others, Kachiki Tsangjuan and Kachiki Inling ran rampant in the court at Hollow, injuring more than 50 team members and killing 12 team members. To be honest, although the number of injuries is considerable, the 4th Division also has a lot of manpower and can handle it completely, but the problem is that the situation of these injuries is rather special. It's not good. The situation of Kanzuya-sama Shinakawa, the 6th seed in charge of the 6th class, has begun to deteriorate. Me too. Violence in the 2nd treatment room. Ask the guard squad for support. How can this happen? The injury is clearly cured. What are these strange white substances? The false face. Could it be that the murderer who caused this series of incidents is the false who has the ability to infect others? No, I didn't hear that it was from the 12th Division. Be careful. Vice Captain Yamada, focus on the job at hand. Other things have nothing to do with us. Yamada Kayasuke responded casually and hurried across the corridor to the first emergency room. Pushing open the door, I found that the person I was looking for was indeed here. Captain Uno Hana, the 3rd seat of the 6th Division Kachiki Kyukawa, asked Captain Kachiki and his vice captain about the situation through the messenger. 5. Reply to him that everything went well. Uno Anaretsu was silent for a while. Yamada Kayasuke looked at the situation in the emergency room and hesitated. All the best? The beds were all torn down. Almost all facilities were damaged. Even the sturdy walls and ground were cracked to varying degrees. The patient who should have been rescued was forcibly nailed to the ground with kid number 99, but was still struggling frantically. The whole body is almost covered with white flowing material, making it difficult to recognize the original posture. According to this trend, after a while, it may become a living virtual. Why don't you seek the help of the kid people? This is no longer a simple injury that can be explained. After thinking of removing their abnormal state, I suggest to apply a high-level seal first, or even use time to stand still. How are the other injured? Uno Hanaretsu did not respond immediately, but asked a seemingly unrelated question. Although it's not as bad as Captain Kachiki and the others, but it's a matter of time, and the captain should see it, right? This is a large-scale infection phenomenon, and when they are injured, the heterogeneous Ryatsu will infect the soul from the wound. 35. I have already done a good job of preventive work to prevent our team members from being harmed, but this is still a temporary solution, and it will be too late if we do not take measures. Yamada Kayasuk's face was full of anxiety. The kid crowd cannot support. Unohana Retsu turned her head with a solemn expression. The chief kid is wanted, and the whereabouts of the deputy chief kid are also unknown, and the current kid community alone cannot help. How come? The matter of the special action team is still relatively secretive. Yamada Kayasuk only knew that several captains were dispatched to Rakangai, but he did not know that the deputy kid captain was also included. The same goes for Big Kid. Now it is rumored that Urahara Kasuk, the captain of the 12th Division, is suspected of conducting illegal experiments, causing many colleagues to be victimized and causing a series of chain reactions. Tessai Tsukabshi didn't care much. After all, Kid was originally independent of Godi 13. Contrary to the secret mobility that was integrated into the 2nd Division, the standard secret associationism rarely appeared in people's field of vision. Kyanasuk, I know that improper handling of this incident will cause extremely serious consequences, but without my permission, you must not take some measures without authorization. Unohana Retsu's eyes were calm, but unmistakable. Do you understand? Learn. Yamada Kayasuk clenched his fists, loosened them, clenched them again, and after some intense inner struggle, he finally gave up the idea of secretly eradicating these infection sources on the grounds that his condition deteriorated and the treatment was ineffective. If he wants to do it, it's really not his turn to do it. Only in this respect the upper class will definitely not disappoint. Then now, not finished yet. Suddenly, a dazzling silver blue light filled the entire emergency room. Who? Yamada Kayasuk stood in front of Unohana Retsu for the first time. The latter narrowed his eyes, showing a slightly surprised expression. Apparently the person who came was identified through Ryatsu. When the light dissipated, several people appeared in the emergency room out of thin air. 7 of them fell unconscious on the ground. Only one figure was standing alone, with a tired look on his face. There were some cracks in the Yuri and Death Lord costumes on his body, and it was obvious that he had experienced a hard fight. I'm sorry, Captain Noana, the situation is urgent, so I didn't have time to go to the front door. Captain Guan Yue? Are you? As you can see, I brought them back straight from the front. Guan Yue stepped aside, pointed to the people who fell on the ground, and sighed with a pretense of helplessness. Although we found the 6th team leader, the Vice Captain Kunin, and the Vice Captain Saraki who went to support, it was a trap set by the enemy. Captain Hirako was eager to save people, and he was accidentally recruited. The same is true for Captain Aikawa and Captain Fenghou. It seems that they were eroded by the emptiness lurking in the wounded's body. Fortunately, I seized the opportunity to control them in one fell swoop. The situation is urgent, and I don't know how to deal with it, so I used the forbidden technique to bring them here first, and Captain Azahua will hand it over to you later. Hearing this, Unohana Retsu started to have a headache. 74? Are you really Kenpachi? Second, first of all, I would like to thank you for your trust and affirmation of my medical skills, but to be honest, I'm also a little overwhelmed. Unohana Retsu frowned, her face full of worry. Her gaze shifted to the 2 non-human figures pinned to the ground. Guan Yue also followed her gaze. This is Captain Kachiki and Vice Captain Kachiki. After you set off, a lot of things happened in Jinglingting. You can use the messenger to communicate with the captain to understand the specific situation. In a word, since you brought people to me, as the chief medical officer, I am naturally bound to do so. Unohana Retsu quickly adjusted his mentality and stepped forward to check the situation of Hirako Shinji and others. It has deteriorated to such an extent. 99 at this site, not only her, but even Yamada Kayasuk's eyes flashed with horror. Almost half of Hirako Shinji and others were slumped, and they wore complete masks on their faces. At present, this abnormal state has not been officially named. But everyone who has been in contact with these abnormal states is very clear that is, their combat power in this state will become extremely terrifying. It's not so much a change, it's an evolution. The rampage of Kachiki Silver 410 Suzu and Kachiki Aojuan forced Captain Yamamoto to take action. Guan Yu doesn't count himself, but he has 4 captains and 3 vice captains. If this force were to run rampant in the court, I don't know how many people would die, but it could be forcibly suppressed, blocked, and taken all the way to the 4th Division. Just thinking about it is incredible. Is it true that the captain of the 11th Division, who has the exclusive title that symbolizes the strongest Shinigami, is this kind of monster? Unohana Retsu can't help but sigh. The commander-in-chief sent you, Captain Guan Yu, to the front line is a very correct decision, and it is impossible for any other captain, even me, to do better than you. 35. You are overrated. Guan Yu's eyelids jumped. This compliment made him a little embarrassed as a 25th boy. No, I'm telling the truth. If it wasn't for the kid forbidden technique you put in place and time stood still, they would never have survived the rescue team's arrival, and it's hard to say that they would have arrived instead to destroy their team. Indeed, if the civil unrest in the court is like this, it will definitely be impossible to send rescue troops for a while. Hirako Shinji and others can only hollow out of control, turning into living monsters dangling in Rakangai, causing huge disasters. And Siriidei slowed down and was bound to clear the door to revive Chaogang. But what makes me more fortunate is that you are here, Captain Guan Yu. 35 Captain Unohana Retsu stood up and said sincerely, I know it's inappropriate to make such a request to someone who has just come down from the front line and is exhausted, but the mutation of these injuries is difficult to contain. The sealing process is too complicated, and the required materials and rituals will not be ready in a while. Only the kid technique, where time stands still, can buy enough time for us to come up with suitable treatment methods. It is not convenient for the 2 leaders of kid to come forward. Most of my achievements in kid are limited to Cade. The forbidden technique is only you. So can I ask you to impose a time standstill on Captain Kachiki and other injured people? Please rest assured, if room 46 is investigated, I will take all the responsibilities. Team leader, this is no joke. Yamada Kayasuke was taken aback by the generosity of his own captain. Use the forbidden technique on more than 50 injured people, and you will definitely be sent to the underground prison for this crime. There is no need for those who are not responsible. This time it was Guan Yu's turn to have a headache. The forbidden technique has already been granted to me by the 46th room. As long as it is used in a proper way, it will not be a problem. I don't think it is a heresy to heal my colleagues, right? 5 era, is there such a thing? Those sages in room 46 are so enlightened. Unohana Retsu covered her mouth in surprise. It almost came up with an inappropriate adjective. But that didn't stop her from praising room 46 from the bottom of her heart for finally doing something. It's not too late. Start now. I'll make up Ryatsu for you. While talking, Unohana Retsu pulled Guan Yu to Kachiki Inling and the 2, and was ready to cascade at any time. Cade's treatment method is to supplement the Ryatsu first, and then repair the injury. As long as the Ryatsu is sufficient and the foundation is solid, the injury will naturally recover quickly. Cade, on the other hand, can transform the user's Ryatsu into a harmless, non-attribute Ryatsu that is injected into the body of the injured person in the gentlest way, without causing rejection or further deterioration of the injury. Of course, no matter which step requires superb spiritual control skills and flexible enough thinking, the treatment according to the script is absolutely impossible. Because of this, even a Cade expert like Unohana Retsu can't save people, which shows how special the situation is. No wonder they are so anxious that they even ask others to use the forbidden technique. Guan Yu did not speak, as if the fingertips burning with silver-blue flames swiped in the air, leaving behind a materialized trajectory visible to the naked eye. His movements were extremely fast and smooth, and he painted a complicated picture in just a few seconds like flowing clouds and water. The size is twice that of a normal magic charm. As the super-large magic talisman gradually took shape and radiated splendid light, Ryatsu, who usually converged to the extreme of Guan Yu, could no longer keep a low profile and began to become surging, sometimes rising and falling. This abnormal spiritual movement shows that his Ryatsu is being consumed violently. Unohana Retsu was a little puzzled. It was not the same as the time she knew stood still. Captain Guan Yu? "No, I'm fine, it's done." Guan Yu knew what she meant, stretched out his hand, and the talisman fell into his hand and rolled into a ball, like a real picture scroll. Then, pass it to Uno and Aretsu. There are too many wounded people, and it is difficult to gather them together at one time. So I use my unique kid to temporarily solidify the time standstill. You can use it to the wounded. I estimate that it can be used up to 60 times. It's hard to say how long it lasts. It depends on the Ryatsu of the caster. It's up to 3 days below the captain, and up to 24 hours at the captain level. Once the time limit expires, if you haven't figured out a way, it's not easy. Improved, forbidden technique, and self-created kid. Captain Guan Yu, are you really Kenpachi? Forget it. Please don't say anything. I will definitely find a way to save their lives and dignity no matter what. 99 Uno and Aretsu took the amulet with both hands solemnly, and immediately used it on both Kachiki Inling and Kachiki Aojuan. The light of the talisman was cast on them. Soon, it was turned into an amber-like statue. Kyanasuk, the other wounded are handed over to you, and immediately gather all the wounded in the central public area. Yes. 75. Shouting injustice to the 4th Division, 3rd, after Yamada Kayasuk left. Uno and Aretsu is about to say goodbye. Then I'll take this time too. And many more. Guan Yu raised his hand to interrupt, raised his chin, and looked out the window. Is the wind outside comfortable? Uno and Aretsu's pupils shrank, as if realizing something. She put her hand on the handle of the knife and stared at the window with a cautious expression. But 5 seconds passed. There was no response. Seeing this, Uno and Aretsu glanced suspiciously at Guan Yu. If I don't come out, I'll go to hat on number 91. Guan Yu couldn't hold his face and decided to be tough. Ryatsu was surging all over his body, and the atmosphere became tense. When Uno and Aretsu was about to dissuade him, the window opened with a snap. 2 figures were lying on the window. One of them took off the kabuto hat of the black cloak and said with a wry smile, "Even though I've known each other for a while, I still can't help but marvel at the fact that after using the forbidden technique equivalent to more than 30 times, there is still such a level of Ryatsu. How did you discover us?" "Me and Tessai are wearing my secret Ryatsu isolation cloak." 33. Your Excellency Urahara, it's so tiring. Can we go in and talk? To be honest, the walls of the 4th Division are so slippery that I can barely stand. Tessai Takabashi looks like a serious and rigid uncle. He feels more like a tough guy who is good at punching people with his fists than kid. But no amount of tough guy can change the fact that his face is blue and he is about to fall. "Hold on, Tessai. If you fall, you'll be found." Urahara Kasuk hurriedly climbed into the house and pulled the burly man in with all his strength. In the end, the 2 of them lay on the ground without any image, gasping for breath. Guan Yu and Uno Aretsu just silently watched them play tricks. "Urahara, haven't you been discovered?" "Yeah, Mr. Guan Yu and Captain Unohana. I think it's okay at least." Urahara Kasuk suddenly lost a smile and said with a serious face, "You should have the patience to allow me to argue." 99, excuse me? Unohana Retsu stared at him and asked, "At this point, you who are considered sinners still dare to appear here. I did not take action immediately, which constitutes dereliction of duty. But rather than this, I would like to hear your opinion on the current situation of those who have been harmed by you. View of the state. I'm innocent, so you probably won't believe it, right?" Urahara Kasuk rubbed his messy hair, feeling more complicated. "Yes, this matter is strictly related to me. In the early years, I conducted an experiment on soul strengthening and concluded that in order to completely achieve leap-forward strengthening, it is necessary to use external force to break the existing container and promote the container is reorganized under the action of external force and becomes a larger container. After thinking about it, only the power of emptiness is most suitable. So I created a substance that can break the boundaries and give the power of Shinigami Hollow, and I named it Jayaku. But after I made it, I realized the danger of it, and after trying all kinds of methods, I couldn't destroy it, so I had to seal it up, but I don't know who was doing the trick. He used Shinigamis the spirits carried out large-scale experiments and planted them on my head." "You said framed? Could it be that the relevant information found in the research tower is fake? Those are indeed the experimental materials about Hollow, but they are not my research materials. I destroyed all the materials on hand a few years ago." Guan Yu asked, "Urahara, I remember that the chief commander arranged for the chief kid and Sakabashi to sit at the Technology Development Bureau to gather intelligence. What happened during that period? Speaking of which, I may have found the reason for being framed. Urahara Kisuke smiled wryly. Tessai and I went back to the Technology Development Bureau to investigate. And then when the investigators went in and out of the records, I found that the whereabouts of some members of the 5th Division did not match the time shown in other reports. And then I began to track these suspicious people, and eventually tracked down a research tower. It's ridiculous that this research institute is actually registered under the name of the Technology Development Bureau, but I, the director, don't know anything about it. And then I was surrounded by a group of people for some reason, and they found a lot of information about the research tower from this research tower. Hollow profile. I was also told that I was reported to have killed colleagues for illegal research and attempted to destroy evidence of crimes. Flower Zero. Tessai, who was with me, has also become my accomplice, but this makes sense. After all, it is difficult for me to be a captain who has just been in office for a few years. It is only reasonable to have a big kid to cooperate with the crime. Hearing his words, Guan Yue did not express his opinion immediately, but looked at Unohana Retsu. Captain Yusohana, do you think his statement is credible? Wild Unohana Retsu frowned, was silent for a while, and asked, then what's the explanation for the fact that you escaped arrest and appeared in the 6th Division area, causing Captain Kachiki and his son, Vice Captain Song-chun, to be injured? That's up to me. Tessai Sakabashi pushed his glasses and said solemnly, it's not that we resisted arrest, but we were ambushed on the way to room 46 for interrogation. Someone killed all the executives. We had to chase after them to prove our innocence. It disappeared, but instead I bumped into Kachiki Tsong, Chun's vice captain, who ran out of control. Then, Captain Kachiki Silverbell arrived at the first time and discovered our existence. At this point, we all realized that we can no longer be led by the backstage, and decided to hide first, turn from light to dark, and observe the situation, especially to catch the backstage. It's a pity that the other party has hidden too deep. So far, nothing has been gained. Your Excellency Urahara considered that the 4th Division might not be able to relieve the hollow of the injured. So he had to hide in the team building, trying to find an opportunity to bring these people to a safe place. In a hidden place. Use Lord Urahara's unique healing method to save their lives. Tessai Sakabashi, dare to risk my life for this remark, and there is no lie. You said you want to take their wounded to other places for treatment? You really have the guts to do such a thing under the eyes of Captain Onoka. Guan Yue had a look of admiration on his face. Cold sweat broke out on Urahara Kisuke's head. No. Tessai said it inappropriately. I actually wanted to discuss it privately with Captain Onoka. 35 Unohana Retsu just smiled at him, as if to say, do you believe me? 376. Mission Impossible. Upon seeing this, Urahara Kisuke quickly changed the subject. Guan Yue, is Hiyori okay? You haven't secretly transferred the injured until now. Are you waiting for me to send Hiyori over? Guan Yue's eyes are subtle. Well, I've become like this myself. Urahara Kisuke laughed at himself. The situation on Hiyori's side is definitely not much better. If she can come back alive, she will only appear in the 4th Division. To be honest, I've already prepared for the worst, but fortunately, Guan Yue, you will follow Go. Even if the captain wants to cut me now, I am still grateful for the decision he made at that time. You don't need to brag. I don't fully believe what you said. Just for the sake of our friendship, I just try not to shoot you. But if you want to take people away, it depends on whether Captain Uzahuo agrees or not. 99. Captain Onoka. Hearing this, Urahara Kisuke straightened his posture, knelt down, and bowed his head to Unohana Retsu solemnly. Although time is still to solve the urgent task first, but it is used many times, and the accumulated time correction will bring huge pressure on the treatment itself. Why don't you give them to me, and let me save them for 1-0. This is the main reason why time standstill is considered the forbidden technique. What is lost and what is extra will be corrected accordingly after leaving the current state or environment. No one knows what kind of chain reaction this correction will bring. To set up detention in the boundary is not to let people stay in the boundary for a long time. Therefore, neither Unohana Retsu nor Yamada Kayasuke made a request to wait for the time to stand still and then ask Guan Yue to use it repeatedly, so as to continue until they figured out a way. It doesn't make sense to do that. It only increases the difficulty of treatment in ignorance. The countermeasures originally thought of may be invalid due to the increase in difficulty. How sure are you? Unohana Retsu asked after a moment of silence. As soon as these words came out, the air suddenly became extremely heavy. Urahara Kasuke also fell silent. This silent attitude speaks volumes. But Unohana Retsu sighed softly instead. I see. I can arrange for you to be treated, but you are not allowed to take them away. Captain Yusohana? Urahara Kasuke and Tessai Tsukabshi were surprised, since I said I will do everything I can to save them. Unohana Retsu turned around, turned her back to the crowd, and said calmly, Then, any means are secondary, even if I bet my dignity and reputation as a healer and use the hands of sinners to achieve it. 35 grateful. Urahara Kasuke really bowed his head this time. Although he knew that the other party couldn't see it, he still wanted to do it. Otherwise, I cannot express my gratitude and admiration. As expected of an old senior, if nothing else, this open-mindedness is worth learning from juniors like me. Luo Guan Yue said meaningfully. Allah, girls are very narrow-minded. There should be more important things for you to learn. Unohana Retsu chuckled. Girls? Urahara Kasuke and Tessai Tsukabshi looked at each other before saying anything. After being a captain for more than 100 years, still a girl? No, it doesn't mean that you can't, but it always feels weird. Let me ask, Urahara, Captain, how confident are you of curing them? Unohana Retsu asked earnestly. If you want to remove the hollow from them, you're only 20% sure. 20%. As far as gambling is concerned, it's a no-brainer. Guan Yu shook his head slightly. Removing hollow is easier said than done. The soul that has begun to reorganize is like a container that has been broken and stuck together. It wants to turn it back into the original container. What is the difference between this and the reverse flow of time? Even a full-body Hijayaku is enough, because at least one has to integrate Hijayaku into oneself in order to activate its abilities to the maximum extent and make oneself undergo the most thorough reorganization. But is it necessary to change oneself back to how it was before then? And another point is whether Hijayaku can be unbound, and it is unknown for other people to use it. The Hijayaku in Urahara Kasuke's hands is now a half-finished product. 20%? In Guan Yu's view, even the 0.1% probability is exaggerated, because fundamentally, it does not have this ability. At most, it is to help Hirako, Shinji, and the others who are deeply troubled by hollow to successfully pass the level of soul reorganization. That is, push them behind their backs. This way they can master the power of hollow. His life is safe, and his strength can be advanced. Only from the point of view of the rescuer and the rescued, this result is not in the category of healed. No matter how bad it is, I can keep them alive and spend the rest of my life figuring out how to get them back. Urahara Kasuke's tone was firm, and he seemed to have made a certain kind of consciousness accordingly. Unohana Retsu's heart is quite heavy, and she also knows that she can't be too demanding. Things in the world are often unsatisfactory, and it is not easy to survive. Urahara, how long will it take you? 35 Guan Yu asked suddenly. About 3 or 5 hours. The treatment process is not troublesome. It mainly depends on how long it takes the injured person to survive. Can it be done by tomorrow morning? Okay, then I'll drag it out for you until that time. I just hope that the captain won't be serious before that. 5 Guan Yu rubbed his temples. Hearing this, Urahara Kasuke, Tessai Tsukabshi, and Unohana Retsu all changed slightly. Could it be that? His Excellency, it's a bit. Guan Yu looked at Urahara Kasuke with disgust. Didn't you just ask me how I found you? Yes, the special cloak that Tessai and I are wearing can completely isolate Ryatsu, so it's logically impossible to be discovered. Ryatsu is isolated. But what about the breath? Breath? 35 Urahara Kasuke was stunned. Anyway, you're also from stealth mobility. Have you forgotten your skill in stealth mobility? Without Ryatsu, you can't even see a figure, but you can track the traces you left, including footprints, fingerprints, and smells. My words are because I heard your heartbeat and breathing. Guan Yu pointed to his ears. And what about the other stealth maneuvers? Suddenly, a voice broke into the conversation out of thin air. I saw Yoruchi squatting on the windowsill at some point, looking at Urahara Kisuke with a stunned face, and said very unhappy, "Your hiding level is too poor. If I hadn't secretly helped you wipe your butts long before you came here." Got caught. Miss Yuruchi. Your Excellency Yuruchi. Captain Yuruchi, looking at your outfit, are you planning to draw a line from Godei 13? Seeing that Yuruchi didn't wear Haori and Shiba, it was completely a refugee costume, Guan Yue asked with raised eyebrows. Who knows? Yuruchi showed his usual smile. I only know that if I don't come to inform you again, the commander-in-chief will call at the door. Is it another report? 35 Urahara Kisuke reacted quickly. Yeah, I don't know who the whistleblower is, let alone what he has to do with the mastermind behind the scenes. In short, he is quite powerful, especially in terms of intelligence. I suspect that my commander-in-chief of secret mobility is a fake. Yuruchi pouted. Anyway, the whereabouts of you and Tessai bypassed me and reported it directly to the captain. I guess that the captain didn't want to scare the snakes, so he didn't make a sound. It's hard to say where people are now. I'm here to tell you to run away. No, these wounded cannot be moved. I need to stay for treatment. Urahara Kisuke subconsciously glanced at Unohana Retsu, who said nothing, but the attitude was obvious. The injured cannot leave the comprehensive treatment center and cannot leave the line of sight. This is the bottom line for Unohana Retsu. Then there is no way. Yuruchi smacked his lips and turned his eyes to Guan Yue. Guan Yue, I'll go with you to intercept the captain. I'll go as well. Tessai Tsukabshi stood up and volunteered. No, Tessai, you stay here. Captain Unohana has no reason to stop others from doing 0.3 harassment treatment, so you have to stay here. Captain Yuruchi, there are still leaders of Jing and Jushiro in the court, and they will definitely intervene during this period. So we have to do a multiple-choice question. Guan Yu spread his hands. The captain and the two captains. Who will deal with which side? 39 If I come forward with the reputation of Shihoin's family, Karaku and Jushiro should give me a face, but on your side. Yuruchi hesitated. Other people's faces are not good-looking. That's the captain. With Guan Yu alone, even if it's just dragging. The difficulty is excruciatingly high and almost impossible to complete. Besides, Guan Yu is not in perfect condition now. It's not that I really want to defeat or kill the opponent. The goal is to make the chief captain unable to enter the gate of the Comprehensive Treatment Center until tomorrow morning. After all, I am also Kenpachi, the strongest Shinigami. I can still do it to this extent. Do you have more confidence in me? Guan Yu rolled their eyes at them. After going through a lot of blood and fire, the slightly broken black and white overlapping hem gently swayed with the pace. He left the Comprehensive Treatment Center under the strange gazes of everyone, especially Unohana Retsu. G77. When you become the captain, you can be like me Siriidii, East 5th District. Although it is in the vicinity of the central area where the landmark buildings such as the First Team Building and the Bipolar are located, the team members in charge of the search operation choose to deter subconsciously whenever they approach this place. Not only that, but not a single person could be seen on the land that was more than 1,000 houses. It was as dead as a ghost realm. But just at the time when the sunset was the most splendid and the twilight was full of twilight, an equally aged figure appeared here. The figure of the old man walking on the road seemed to be clothed in the sunset glow, carrying the sky on his back, and just taking a step, the seemingly eerie atmosphere vanished. Even the air became hot. The presence of one person actually overwhelms the natural pattern formed by the sky and the earth. Is it really an enchantment? Yamamoto Yuanyuzi lightly raised his eyelids. His sharp gaze swept across the atmosphere and the surroundings, as if to cut off all appearances and see the inner essence clearly. Look at this trick and the deeply hidden Ryatsu. It's you, Guan Yu. The deep voice shook the atmosphere. A figure appeared in the shadow not far away, obviously feeling that there is an enchantment in front of you and still trying to break in. As the captain, how can you be like those idiots who are often hot-blooded in our team? Guan Yu's sleeves fluttered, and his words were full of ridicule. If the fighter plane is delayed because the road in front of you is not easy to walk, then the captain of the old man is really the end. Yamamoto Yuanyuzi's eyes widened a little again, and the sense of oppression emanating from his body was also increasing. Guan Yu, the old man remembers that you have a mission. Why are you here? and the rest of the special action team, "What are you doing now? About this, I think we can sit down and have a good chat in another place. But there are many details worth thinking about." Guan Yu laughed. Boom! The old man's crutches fell to the ground, and the tip of the stick pierced the floor tiles directly, and even the place where he stood was suddenly cracked, and a shallow pit covered with dense spider web structures appeared. Don't think that this old man doesn't know that you are deliberately delaying time. There should be more than one barrier like this that can disperse others, right? Urahara Kasuke is in the 4th division now, and you are blocking this old man here. This old man has every reason to think that you and him, this series of events, was secretly planned together. The reason why the old man hasn't drawn his sword is because he wants to give you a chance to explain. Be funny, kid. 39. A helpless smile appeared on Guan Yu's mouth. Well, the kindness of the old man still has to be accepted. After all, I still want to continue working under your hands. In a nutshell, the task force is dead. Although we found the missing Muguruma Kensei and Kunimashiro, Captain Hirako and the others were also ambushed by the enemy, and now they are in the same danger as Captain Kachiki, so I used the forbidden technique to immediately bring them to the 4th division. Give it to Captain Unohana for treatment. 35, however, she seems to be powerless about it. Just at this time, Urahara Kasuke appeared. He said that he was wronged, and he also brought a treatment plan that is very important to everyone. Captain Unohana and I, no, just take it as my own. I'm going to let him try. So can you please stop here? That BD is too timid, and I'm afraid you're scaring him and thus affecting the healing. Hearing that this group was almost wiped out, Yamamoto's eyes widened. Why don't you report it as soon as possible? The portable messenger machine was jointly promoted by you and the Technology Development Bureau. It should be reported to the old man as soon as an accident occurs. Because the information transmission channels used by the portable messenger machine are not perfect at this stage, and now it's like this. In order to prevent the hidden enemy from intercepting intelligence, I think face-to-face communication is more secure. Besides, don't you think there is something wrong with Urahara Kasuke? Because of this, you can't use the messenger machine to pass the message on everything. Guan Yu's answer is impeccable. Yamamoto Uenyuzi stared at him for a while, but did not pursue further questions. After all, there are more important things to deal with right now. The effort that can be delayed is also limited. After the matter of the special action team, the old man will find out the truth. And now the old man orders you to return to your own squad and cooperate with other captains to station in Siri to prevent the Captain Kachiki incident from happening again. What about you, Captain? Guan Yu asked rhetorically. Of course, the top suspect, Urahara Kasuke, and his accomplice Tessai Tsukabshi were arrested. 35 Yamamoto Uenyuzi responded without hesitation. There was an unmistakable meaning in the words. Little brat, you're too young. How can you be sure that this is not his conspiracy by taking the suspect's side so easily and handing over a colleague who should need protection to Urahara Kasuke? If all this is the result of his illegal experiments, now is the best time for him to reap the fruits. The old man is unwilling to doubt his subordinates casually, especially a promising young man like you. The old man is also willing to believe that you are out of good intentions. But because of this, the old man does not want to cast a shadow called remorse on your future. This is the final warning. Go back. Now this old man can ignore your overstepping behavior. Otherwise, the old man will be rude. What? Guan Yu sighed. Sure enough, we still have to develop to this stage. Although things have become smoother because of Tianbei, the captain is still the captain. I also said that I am arbitrary, which is really nothing compared to you. Really? Then take this opportunity to teach your bad boy a lesson. The old man's hand left the crutches, his arms stretched high. Haori, draped over her body, was blown away by the roaring Ryatsu. And when the hand is on the head of the stick again, the crutches disintegrated layer by layer, revealing a long knife with a simple and unpretentious shape. This is the oldest and most aggressive Zanpakutō the Soul Society has ever seen. Raijin Jaka is known as the No, one of the hot category. Guan Yu also put his hand on the handle of the knife at his waist. His expression was calm, and his concentration was unprecedented. For a time, the wind on this road seemed to be much sharper. Another unspeakable heavy, chilling aura pervaded. Next moment, two beams of sword light that looked like galaxies swept across the sky. 78. Yuruchi, My helper can fight at the same time. A certain area to the north of the 4th Division. Kairaka Shunsui looked at the woman standing in front of him, and an inexplicable color flashed in his eyes. Isn't this Captain Shun? I don't remember that old man Sean allowed you to go out. Don't be polite, Karaku. You see I'm not wearing Captain Yuri. Isn't it obvious? Shihoin Ruchi stepped on the mountain of meat built up by the comatose teammates, and said with great air, "That is to say, are you now declaring war as a traitor?" 35 Kairaka Shunsui pressed the brim of his hat and said softly, "It's nerve-wracking. This is really the worst has happened. Whether it is a traitor or not is not up to me, but up to you." 95 Shihoin Yuruchi's unexpected response. I am very clear about Kisuk's character. This matter has nothing to do with him. He has conducted relevant research. I will not cover this up for him, but it is also true that he did not attack other captains and the residents of Rakangai. 35 The current situation is very unfavorable for him, and all the evidence points to him. If you were tried at this time, you and I know what will happen with the style of the 46th room. There's no other way. Since the normal way is not enough, we can only resort to abnormal means to get this justice back. Speaking of this, Yuruchi paused and narrowed his golden eyes. Or what? If you want to fight me here, I don't mind, Jingle. It's just that I don't think you're the kind of person who doesn't listen to you. I might not even be able to explain it to another captain. The explanation goes straight to the point. Hey, how can you be so righteous in helping sinners? Also, you actually want to say that I am a very talkative person, right? Kairaku Shunsui complained. After speaking, his expression softened a little. To be honest, I also don't think this incident is that simple, and I believe that Old Man Sean is the same, but the situation is so bad that we must first find a breakthrough to make the situation look less chaotic. For this, even if it is wronged, it doesn't matter. After all, as long as the key person is caught in the hand, sooner or later, the bottom line will be found out. 99. Of course, there is a high probability that the key people who are caught will not be able to escape. 55. I personally hate this kind of impersonal result, so you want me to stay on the sidelines for the time being, turn a blind eye to you, and it's okay to paddle. It's easy to talk about Jushiro, but Old Man Sean is not as good as me and Jushiro. Even I got the exact information and had to take action. Not to mention Old Man Sean, even if he slashed through the comprehensive treatment center with one knife at the moment. I am not surprised. Old Man Shan's words must really be able to prevail to such an extent. Oh, so I don't understand why you can stand here so calmly and stop me now. Do you trust the strength of Captain Urahara and Chief Kid Sakabashi so much? If it is, then I have to kindly remind, the angry old man is more terrifying than the evil ghost. It is an extravagant hope for the two of them to escape. Trust? They? Yuruchi quickly waved his palm in disgust. No, no, no. How can you trust a guy who almost got caught even if I helped secretly? 35. Did you accidentally say something outrageous? Don't worry about such trivial details. The voice just fell. The sudden shock of Ryatsu made their expressions stagnate, and they both looked at the far right side, which is the east of the 4th Division. Not too far from here, but not too close. But this Ryatsu vibration is essentially two types of Ryatsu colliding violently. So what is more heart-pounding than the pure quality is the intensity of the vibration. Old Man Yama's Ryatsu? There's another. This isn't. Yuruchi glanced at the surprised Kairaka Shunsui and said, "Didn't you ask me why I am so calm? This is the answer. I am blocking you, and naturally there are also people blocking the Commander-in-Chief." When did you return to Ting Nei? Captain Guan Yue. 35 Kairaku Shunsui sighed. If you don't say anything in advance, it will make me, the person in charge of the security work, very embarrassed. But, well, if I go to Jushiro's side and drag him to be lazy, no one should notice. Shaking his head, he walked away gracefully, turning a blind eye to the teammates who fell at Yuruchi's feet. Not his own teammates anyway. More importantly, it's not a cute girl. Seeing Kairaku Shunsui withdraw his hand and leave, Yuruchi's calm expression instantly collapsed. His eyebrows climbed to a dignified look, and he looked at Ryatsu's shaking direction again. Kairaku Shunsui was much more talkative than expected, which meant that her side was free to rush over to help out. Guan Yu Shirkai is not suitable for one-on-one fights. As for Bankai, although I don't know if I have practiced in these 7 years, but when the opponent is the captain, one more Bankai and one less Bankai does not have much effect. That is not an existence that can be defeated. Therefore, the best way to fight against it and delay time is not to use Bankai, which is extremely expensive for Ryatsu, but to rely on other means, numbers, tactics, or other. Guan Yu's Shirkai ability is very suitable for long fights when there are helpers on the field. Just as Yoruichi was about to leave, there was a strong Ryatsu vibration in the direction of the 4th division. One of them is Tessai Tsukabshi. The other party is relatively unfamiliar, but it is obviously also at the level of captain. Yoruichi hesitated for a while and decided to go back to the 4th team to take care of Urahara Kisuke. Although Tessai Tsukabshi is not weaker than most of the captains, but after all, there is only one person. Uno Hanaretsu has to keep an eye on Urahara Kisuke's treatment process and will not make any shots. Sorry, Guan Yu. I can only ask you to hold on for a while longer. East 5th District. On the unmanned main road, 5 carriages can pass through at the same time, and it is not too crowded. But before that, still 2 figures. But the location has changed. In front of them, the pavement of a large section of the road was destroyed, as if a storm was passing through. What caused this scene was the sword pressure that erupted when the 2 sides staggered. There was blood dripping from Yamamoto's feet. He glanced at the wound on his forearm wordlessly, then turned around. So is Guan Yu. The eyes of both sides crossed each other. The sound of blood dripping came one after another, and the dazzling colors showed murderous intent. As a lesson, the old man feels that it has been profound enough. Guan Yu glanced at his right shoulder. A stab wound visible to the naked eye stretched diagonally from the shoulder to the waist. If you do it again in the opposite direction, it will just form a big X on the front of his upper body. This result is not good. 79. The oldest Zanpakutō, so fragrant, it's just an ordinary slash, but it has such power. Think back to the moment of confrontation. Guan Yu's eyes drooped, his expression solemn. At this time, Yamamoto Uenyuzi waved the blade, as if savoring the feel of his hand. You also set up a barrier on your body, right? Otherwise, with your crude slashing technique, this old man will be able to make you fall to the ground with just that knife, instead of just pretending to be like you are now. No, it seems more than that. Your skin and muscles are far more resilient than ordinary people. If you can add an extra layer of enchantment, it will only be a white mark when you cut it. Whether it was imitating the ribbed membrane of the still blood suit, or imitating the tough body honed by Aaron Carr's devouring and transforming his soul, the old man saw through it. Guan Yu is not surprised by this. The hand can only be kept secret if it is held in the hand and not seen by others. Once it is played, there is no secret at all. If you encounter an old antique with thousands of years of experience like Yamamoto Uenyuzi, not only the cards that were played, he might even be able to deduce a rough idea of the cards that were not played. To say that my beheading technique is poor or something, this evaluation is too damaging to one's self-esteem. Guan Yu flicked the blood bead that belonged to the old man on the blade, and once again posed the middle 410-dan structure of kendo. But just seeing his flawed posture, Yamamoto Uenyuzi sighed imperceptibly. Stop pretending. Whether it's enchantment or strengthening the body, don't you just want to turn the assassination sword technique, that secret mobility, is bested into a trick that can kill you with one hit in actual combat? You're welcome to say, you have given up the slashing technique. Your approach is to ignore what the enemy is doing, as long as you cut off the enemy's head, this extreme slicing technique. No, it should be said that the tactics face the real kendo master is useless. Especially the defensive power you rely on is just a window paper that can be pierced with a little force to the old man. Maybe you can improve the defense power, but this is not necessarily a good thing because it will make it difficult for the old man. Grasp the strength, and you will be injured to death. All right. Guan Yu lifted his stance and laughed. I want to use you as a sparring partner to experiment with this tactic. I admit it is naive. 35. It seems that you still haven't recognized the essence of the problem, or you are resisting the facts, and the time is running out. The old man can only preach to you in a more rude way. Yamamoto Uenyuzi inserted his knife into the ground, and his arms got rid of his shirt, revealing his majestic body with countless scars. He looks old and rickety, and his height is not as high as that of Guan Yu, a developing teenager. But at this moment, accompanied by the soaring Ryatsu, his majestic and powerful body is as tall as a giant. Everything in Vientiane is ashes. Without room for negotiation, Yamamoto Jinryuzai freed Zanpakutō. But his hand didn't even touch the hilt. The Ryatsu that spewed out of his body turned into a raging fire that swept the surroundings, dyeing everything into a scorching red, and the extremely dazzling red glow in the sky was mercilessly assimilated. Raijin Jaka. Those who learned Bankai could have omitted the liberation word and directly liberated Zanpakutō. However, in order to make Guan Yu understand the strength difference between the two sides more deeply, Yamamoto Uenyuzi decided to show Raijin Jaka's posture in front of his eyes. The heat wave is coming. The blow made Guan Yu's hair flutter, and his clothes rattled. There is a red in front of him. The skin was also reddened by the firelight. When Yamamoto Uenyuzi picked up Zanpakutō, the fire spread to the entire blade and then acted as the main power source of the second stage of the space thruster, and more flames spewed from the blade. Fire, 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 fire everywhere, as if endless. Obviously, it is fire, but it has a majestic momentum of a flood. With the swing of the blade, a sea of flames covering a square, syad, of 100 meters was formed, burned the sky, and scorched the earth. The trajectory of the blade is the pace of destruction. I can understand the feelings of Karaku and Jushiro, who originally blocked the execution of the commander-in-chief 100 years later. The strongest Zanpakutō is indeed extraordinary. Even though he is only Shirkai, he has a power far surpassing that of the ordinary Captain Bankai. 99. The corners of Guan Yu's mouth were slightly upturned, and a scorching light that was comparable to the heat of a flame appeared in his eyes. Despite the considerable pressure, even at this distance, if it weren't for Ryatsu's constant counteracting the effects of the heat wave, the clothes might have been ignited long ago. When replaced with ordinary Shinigami, it is not surprising that the entire spirit body is directly burned to ashes under this heat wave. However, this sense of oppression also made Guan Yu's adrenal glands surge. Haven't had a decent fight since joining the team after graduation. This is, of course, due to rational and discretionary avoidance of danger. And in the event of a battle, it will use various means to win depending on the situation, which is very different from the battle that the 11th Division desires. Guan Yu himself is not the kind of person who becomes arrogant when he has power, but he thinks that his arrogance in his bones is not necessarily less than those of bluffing guys. Especially when he has the ability, the rational decisions he makes may appear to others to be just the opposite. I didn't come here with the mentality of giving it a try. 35. I am standing here just because I think I can do it. 35. So all the actions you'll take are within my expectations. Guan Yu's voice penetrated the heat wave and entered the captain's ears. The latter snorted coldly. Knowingly commits a crime, and the crime is one more class. After saying that, they waved their swords towards each other. People stood still. The raging fire has become his extended limbs and swords. Boom! The explosive flames turned into substantial slashes and swept across all directions, directly flattening all the buildings within 100 meters in front of them, including the walls. One blow wiped out the vitality of this land. Guan Yu, who was in the air, smacked his tongue secretly when he saw the tragic situation on the ground. This isn't some kind of kid technique or trick. Just like the beginning, it's just a flat cut. It's useless to hide in the sky. Yamamoto Uenyuzi lightly raised his eyelids and waved his knife up. The sea of fire rose in an instant, overwhelming the sky in the true sense. Guan Yu's fingers flashed blue light across the wound on his body, and he used double full hands to eliminate the injury. At the same time, with a wave of his sleeve robe, hundreds of spiritual talismans appeared out of thin air. The lightning with golden arcs licked its lips like a beast, bared its fangs, and slaughtered towards the sea of fire. G80. Go to the theater? There is no door. Seeing this scene, Yamamoto Uenyuzi frowned and silently increased his firepower. This approach is correct. Hundreds of rounds of complete fiery lightning howl released with Tongshanlu, and it is also from Guan Yu, the Master Kid. no matter how powerful it is. Compared to Raijin Jaka's spectacular explosion, it's not that much. The scale of the confrontation is enough that most people in Seriidii can look up and glimpse a touch of gold and red in the distant sky. Rolling thunder, blowing the overflowing Ryatsu in all directions. I am afraid that even the residents of Rakangai can smell the smell of war. Razor dances wildly, and the sea of fire is terrifying. If Shinigami below the captain level was in the center of the battlefield, he couldn't even react, and in the next second, he was crushed by the overly powerful Ryatsu, losing his ability to move, and finally vanished in the aftermath of the destruction. Even the team members who were originally near the East 5th District hurried away from here. The fighting methods of Guan Yue and the commander-in-chief were too violent, and the Eastern 5th District of Nua University could hardly contain the aftermath of their battle. It's not a joke to be involved. Boom! Guan Yue swung the knife violently. The blade was wrapped in a thick silver-blue Ryatsu, and it forcibly defeated the flames that were circling in all directions. But this does not cure the symptoms. The flame has neither a predetermined shape, nor will it be exhausted at the moment before the commander-in-chief withdraws. On the contrary, it will only increase and proliferate, as if death is approaching little by little. It's more of a taste of despair than fear. Guan Yue felt his throat almost smoking. The thin film on the body surface can resist the burning of heat waves. However, the moisture and spirits in the air were consumed violently. If it goes on like this, even if there is Liku, Immortal Thief, there is no way to restore physical strength and Ryatsu by absorbing the spirits in the atmosphere. If you don't make changes, you will lose. I really can't get enough oil and salt. I knew that today I should study a hydrating technique. Guan Yue looked at the old man in the middle of the sky. The current firepower of the two sides was irrelevant, but the Ryatsu he was wearing was definitely above the other side. The powerful kid cannot be used. Is there any reason not to lose? The 8 miracles are strong, but without the energy of Ryatsu, even activation would be a problem. Of course, he also thought about rushing to the front of the old man to use the inexorable suppression of the spirit body. The first half went very smoothly, but in the second half, the situation was not optimistic. Taking the initiative to approach a strong, swordsman-level master was tantamount to seeking death. Ki Body Yuan Lu can temporarily dispel the flames on my body. This is the most powerful card I have hidden, but the Ki Body Yuan Lu that dispels the phenomenon of spirits can't stop the real slashing. 3544 Wind Queen Qimen. The slowness and stillness of time are not very good for Ryatsu's opponents above me. With the total difference between me and the captain's Ryatsu, the effect is only less than 1/3, which is not much. Use 5 at the moment. Only the firepower of Tongshinlu can compete with it, as well as the self-healing of Xuanquan hands and the physical strength of Liuku Immortal Thief to meet the needs of continued.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.